What's up, guys? I'm going to start taking some photos until some people start showing up. But, if you end up seeing this section, just let me know if you can hear me, if you can't hear me, or how laggy the stream is. It kind of looks like it's lagging a bit. So, yeah, let's get started. Hey, Steve, what's going on? How's your morning going? What's up, Ondung? Hope I said that right. I have a bad case of Angloisms, which means I can't pronounce names. Hey, good audio, really? I was kind of thinking it might be kind of crappy when I watched the last live stream. So I've actually got a little block set up so the HEPA filter's not doing a whole bunch of noise in the background. What's up, Mark from Maine? Idaho Panhandle and Maine. Very nice. Yeah, it's been rainy the past few days over here. Now it's actually sunshiny and beautiful and cold, which is exactly my favorite kind of weather. I love cold weather. So what's up, Chris? Much love, man. So, guys, I'm just kind of getting ready. I've got some new breeding trial strains that I'm cloning out. Hey, I got it right on the first try. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you. But yeah, I'm working on some new strains. I've got some little babies that I'm cloning out. Each one of these is, a cross between some other strains. Hey, much love to everybody. Iowa, lots of cold. Yeah, man. I don't know that I don't want to be that cold. So I like the seasonality that I get in East Tennessee because we get really hot summers, nice cool winters. Our winters are cool and wet, and I really like cool and wet. I mean, it's just wet here all the time. East Tennessee used to be full of wetlands, and it's still, very wetlandish. In fact, they're trying to bring back a lot of wetlands in Tennessee. How to clone reishi. Fisnick, yeah, very carefully. Thin fruits, what George says. It's basically, that's especially with turkey tail. Turkey tail is a hard one to clone. Anytime I do a bracket fungus, I always try to pull the fruit off, and there where the bracket attaches to the block or log or anything else, that bracket's going to have a lot more meat to it than pretty much anything else. So I find that's usually the easiest way to clone it is just to, get it from that bracket side. Anything like the violet tooth polypore, that one was a really a good one to clone from the bracket. Pretty much any bracket fungus. Yeah, Mark, what's going on? Great to see you on. I have a quick question for you. My liquid culture got a little cold turned to gel. Should I heave it? It turned to gel? That's interesting. I've never seen, like, even mine, when mine gets in the refrigerator, it never turns to gel. Did you add agar to it or a lot of sugar? Did you add too much sugar? Or what's up, Buster? Absolutely, Fisnick. I hope that helps, man. There are other ways to clone reishi. Reishi is not my thing. Hey, check out Terrestrial Fungi. That guy, Ryan Paul Gates, he's the master when it comes to reishi. What's up, Danny? I am doing well, man. I'm doing much better. I'm not dealing with any sicknesses. I'm not dealing with any too much of any stressors. I'm lifting weights again, eating a lot of meat, low carbs, lots of vegetables. Lost about 12 pounds the past 2 weeks, so I'm doing pretty well. Yeah. Thanks for asking. I hope you're doing well. I hope all of you guys are doing well. 17 people already in 4 minutes, man. You guys blow my mind. I never thought I'd be this popular, I'm like one of the cool kids now. Hey, my photography assistant thing is telling me it's time to take the next picture, so give me 1 second. Let me... Okay, so we have an elm blue cross and an elm blue cross. And let me get this set up real quick. I'm a fun guy. Yeah, are we all fun guys? That's kind of what we do. Fisnick, to kind of go back to what you were asking about when it comes to cloning reishi. Reishi is a really hard mushroom. And so far, I found that any mushroom that's really kind of hard, it's really easy to clone it with the needle. You know, if you go watch my cloning, how to clone gourmet mushrooms to liquid culture or whatever, that's probably the easiest way I've ever found with that hard kind of tissue. Now, if you're doing something small like turkey tail, I tried to use a needle to do a biopsy clone for the turkey tail, and that just became quickly pretty impossible. So, but you might try giving that a try. Also, if you can take that fruit when it's hard, that's still got that white edge that's going to be softer on the front, you can kind of crack them open in front of your fan and just take some internal tissue as close to the white part as possible, because that's the living tissue there. That's what's going to clone the easiest. 6 and 7. What's going on, Mark? Almost frozen. I don't know. I've never experienced that, man. I wish I could help. Let's see. Maybe if you didn't add agar or too much sugar, maybe if it froze, I don't know, check your temperature on your fridge. Or if you don't have it in the refrigerator, I'm not really quite sure what to do. Wowza. Penny, awesome. Penny, for your thoughts. Fungi Perfecti can't send cultures to the UK. Can you touch on what's involved with regards to all that in general and why he might not be able to do that? So, Danny, what really comes down to is it's anytime you're moving biological material across nation states, it's going to be difficult. When you're moving from continent to continent, it's even more so typically. Like I can ship to Canada vaguely, but you're going to have, depending on the state that you're sending it to, and this is why it's kind of difficult because all of them are going to be different. Let me move that light out of the way. All of them are going to be different. And so because of that, you're going to have whatever setup each one of those nations requires of you. And unless you have an entire team to take care of that, it's hard for any one company, especially a small company, to do that. And maybe, Paul's probably got the money to do it at this point. Maybe he just doesn't feel like it's a big enough boon to his business, with all the other business he's got domestically. What's up, Buster? New to the channel here, just learning how to cultivate mushrooms, especially out here where it's extremely hard due to desert weather conditions. So far, I've been able to grow oyster and Chaga. Hey, great, man. I don't know much about, desert growing. I know that there's a YouTube video on a guy who was doing it back in the early days, even whenever I was first starting out. So it's been, a decade ago. And that was pretty cool. Your fridge got cold. Yeah, so, man, honestly, if it just got cold and kind of froze up and they're not a tropical variety, then you're probably fine. Just let them thaw back out and let them go and see what they do. Hey, Rocky River Mushrooms. Yeah, we're doing well, man. Thanks for asking. I appreciate that. Yeah, Danny. I wish I could, man. I want to send everywhere, and I want to be able to get genetics everywhere, but I don't have an import license to just import these things. I can get commercial samples in with my business license and everything else. And really, that's kind of enough. That's really, once you get that commercial sample in, why do you ever need to purchase it again? So you just need to purchase the samples, because you can just keep cloning forever. Mushrooms are kind of like that, but swamp cooler. Yeah, Alden or Rocky, that's a great thing, man. Danny, no, wait, say who was the desert? Buster, swamp coolers are really cool. We're actually talking about building one here. It won't be very effective because of how wet the air is here, but it'll be more effective to buffer the air for what we're applying it for. What's up, Alden? Hope you're doing well, man. Hey, Ibrahim. Thanks, man. Love you too, bud. I'm always happy to hear from people. Where are you from, Ibrahim? Sorry, guys. I'm still taking these pictures. And so I've got a little artificial intelligent assistant. It's called the Arsenal for my camera, and it hooks up to my phone, and it kind of goes through and does, all the checks and balances and stuff that I would normally have to do on my own. But every now and then I have to click a button to get it to take the picture or go on. My favorite mushroom to photograph. Honestly, man, I'm kind of in love with oyster mushrooms, have been for years. I went through love with all kinds of different mushrooms. Each time I try a new one, it's my favorite. But oysters have been what have sustained me, and I love to photograph them. I think they're beautiful. I love getting those upskirt shots with the gills and stuff going. I think it's just beautiful. Spore reel. All right, Chris. I'm not sure what that means. I like it though. Which let's see. Oh, Jose, the favorite mushroom photograph. So beyond oysters, I think any of the coral mushrooms or black poplar. Black poplar is one of my favorite mushrooms just in general. So yeah, it makes sense. Is the next best thing to grow your own cultures from a mushroom itself? It's probably easier to get since it's not. So yeah, I mean, you can go out and I go out into the wild and I collect mushrooms all the time. There's a few different things with wild mushrooms. Like for right now, I'm making a video on one called the Sanborn oyster. I bought the liquid culture from Lenny, and I'm trialing it out, and I'm doing that for my Spawn Sunday or Strain Sunday or whatever, which is not going to come out today. But it's a wild mushroom clone. Wild oysters in particular, most wild mushrooms, but wild oysters in particular, they will really just send spores everywhere. They are really, really spore heavy, so they're hard on your equipment. And they tend to be meaty. I mean, I really like that about them. And they tend to be aggressive and not as hard, not easy to take down with contaminants like some of the domestic strains are. Their shelf life is usually not great. And I think that has a lot to do with the spores, like how many spores they've got on them. I think that anything that spores heavy tends to really have a hard time having a shelf life. Turkey. Okay, hey, thanks, man. Welcome. Let's see. Lockdog. Hi, Andrew. Greetings from Germany. Hey, man. Thanks. Guten Tag. The classic. Yeah, oyster mushrooms are the classic, man. The workhorse. Like anytime there's anything that's workhorse related, that's like my favorite thing. I love sci-fi, and it's always the workhorse ships that are my favorite, whenever it comes to like anything I do. Yeah, I play a lot of StarCraft back in the day. The Marine, just the standard workhorse Marine was my favorite. Hey, Lockdog. Yeah, man. Thanks to you, man, and respect. What's up, Rich C? Yo. Are you T5 bulbs, grow bulbs, and who makes them? So Milton's, that's a good question. I buy them off Amazon nowadays. I used to. I bought them off Greenhouse Megastore or something warehouse. Let's see, what is it? Light warehouse. I don't remember, something like that. Light bulb, but they have like a ton of light bulbs and stuff and grow lights. Now I just buy it off Amazon. It's a 4-foot fixture, 4-lamp T5, 6,500 Kelvin. They are grow lights made for greenhouses. They say they're not for wet environments. They work just fine with my dry fog that I've got. It doesn't get real wet in there anywhere, below shoulder level. Typically, it's usually not very wet, so they work really well. How do you keep your liquid culture in dark? I don't keep it in the dark. And Celsius, I don't know Celsius, man. I can give it to you in Fahrenheit. It's about 73 degrees Fahrenheit in here. But I mean, there's daylight that comes in this room all the time, and right there is there's my liquid cultures, so they get daylight. Very refreshing to have a tuber that does his best to answer all questions in order. Yeah, man, it is very difficult sometimes. The other day we had 80 people on here near the end, and it was getting pretty hard. Phoenix is the worst for spores and shelf life, but they are very tolerant to temp and humidity swings. I started with them. Yeah, so Phoenix oysters are great. I have a variety that's an improved variety called the Venetian oyster, and man, it's great. I love it when you pick it. Like, it sometimes smells like root beer or sarsaparilla or whatever you might want to call it. But it's a fantastic one. It's got a little bit longer shelf life, but it does tend to spore and get slick on the top, which I don't like. Yeah, for wild mushrooms, what about the mushrooms already cultivated and on the market? Say I buy a shiitake from the supermarket to get a culture start. I mean, yeah, you can do that. You can clone it and use it. People do it all the time. I saw where somebody had just they went and bought the Shogun maitake strain at the grocery store, cloned it. Mushrooms are basically, immortal, and so it doesn't matter that you bought, a maitake from the grocery store and cloned it. It's still gonna be great. Hey, Michael Lee. I'm not seeing you producing any Pathfinders. I've not had any luck with the culture I got from you. Don't want to be a downer. Really? Yeah, I mean, I have been producing them. I just haven't been showing them much since I've shown them before. I'll try to do a video on it very, very soon. I've got a master's going. If you need another liquid culture with it, just let me know and I'll replace it. Just send me an email. Hey, hate that you've had problems with it, man. Pathfinder is one of my favorite strains of all time. It is like marshmallow from top to bottom. And it's a wild strain out of Washington State. Let's see. Rocky River mushrooms, tissue culture works, but you need to make sure the mushrooms are fresh. So actually, yeah, I agree. You want them fresh. You don't want them dried or anything like that. But I like it to go look for the mushroom that's got a little bit of fuzz towards the end of the stem. That way you know it's already leaping off, and it'll grow. It'll clone faster. Annan 420 says, I had fried battered blue oysters for the first time yesterday, and they are very, very good. Really want to grow some. Man, deep fried oysters are amazing. Breaded, deep fried, amazing. The pinks, fast here on the beach, no sterilized, nothing, killing it. Cardboard, palm limbs, banana leaves, etc. Easy. Yeah, pinks are like the easiest mushroom to grow. I love pinks. They're not my favorite to eat, but I love growing them. And the strain we've had here is like a really blood red when it gets cold. So when we have this nice, like I meant to grow them this year for Valentine's Day, like I did last year, but it just honestly time slipped by me. So plus being sick and stuff, it just made it kind of difficult. So I could buy vacuum bagged mushrooms from you and get culture like that to bypass all import regulations, etc. So I don't know that I could even ship vacuum bagged mushrooms. I don't know that vacuum bagged mushrooms would survive the trip, number one. And number two, I don't know if I can ship food product to Europe. See, that's the problem with shipping international, man. I just don't know what's going to get me in trouble. So if anybody's an import or export, expert, let me know. Get with me. I'd love to start getting this stuff. Just a fun thought experiment. Thanks for entertaining me. Yeah, man, Danny, you're welcome. I would love to get to be where I'm import export all the time, because I'd love to get some genetics from Europe, Africa, Asia, and just send genetics everywhere. Like I think that another Columbian exchange, we'll call it, would be fantastic. For someone who's only running 4 to 6 tubs, is LC or agar better for inoculation and keeping varieties genetics? I think liquid culture probably is. Let's see, thoughts on that. The reasoning behind that is you can probably, it's going to be more expensive to run, but you can buy everything. You can have your needles and syringes already sterile, pressure cook your grain already, your grain in a jar with the weight of self-healing injector port. So you never have to bring that culture out. Once you buy that culture in, it never has to leave and go into open air. You can do it without without a still air box. So I think liquid culture is the best way to go. It's going to be hard. You can't do cleanup work on it very easily. You can't do, if you lose that strain, you'll just have to buy it again, but then you just magnify it, by expanding it out. So I think liquid culture is going to be your easiest way to go. And then once you make your grain spawn and bag your bulk grain spawn, you can then go to a pasteurized substrate that was pasteurized for your monotub. Yeah, Danny, you're welcome. You're welcome a million. Bikini Bottom, did you try psilocybin shrooms? I'm always really careful. Where I run a legitimate business, I always try to make sure that we're as careful as possible. I've been pulled over. People saw the cops saw my mushroom tattoos, pulled everything out and checked it all out. They don't know what the difference is between anything, so I'm always a little, it doesn't happen as much as it used to. When I first started out, it was more common. And maybe that was my vehicle and the fact that I looked, rougher, more white trash. So, but the answer is, I don't know a mushroom grower that hasn't really tried them out before. So, did you try to make culture for truffle mushroom? I have never tried it. I know a lot of people who have worked on it. I think Jasmine Richardson has worked a lot on it. I haven't seen much of her work recently, so I don't know if she's still doing it or publishing anything. I think Sydney Over Singleton has worked on it before. Truffles have a weird kind of growth pattern. They don't grow just straight mycelium. Alan Rockefeller, I think, even worked on it some. So those guys would all know better than I would. I don't know anything about truffles. Even though there's some truffle farms around here, it's just not something I've ever been interested in. Have you figured out the Black King pearls? Any technique on getting them to grow like true kings? So the only way that I can for sure do that is to trim them down and just have a few mushrooms. Hey, babe. You need something? The only thing I can do is trim around them and just leave a couple of mushrooms and let them grow a little more like kings. But even then, sometimes they cap out like crazy. Someone reached out to me, Chempy Mignons, which, as far as I know, just means mushrooms in French. What's up, Easy? They end up. He told me that I was picking them too late, and if I pick them a little bit more early, they'll have a longer shelf life, and that I'll tend to be a little bit more standardized there. But even so, it's hard for me to get them real standard. So I can bet below 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So it would be nice to grow a warmer king. Oh, I can't bet below 60. Oh yeah. So it's a great one, man. It produces it's about half and half for me. Half like clusters with big caps and little stems, and then half more king-like. But they grow in clusters, so it's about doubled or tripled my king production. Just going with that, if that helps. Can you do? Chris Solomon was asking, can you do morels inside? Somebody has before. They didn't make money doing it, and I don't know. There's a type of morel that doesn't grow specifically with plant roots, and so it's I don't know, man. I know that their substrate was expensive because they put a lot of stuff into it, a lot of labor, and they didn't really make money. Maybe there's a way to systematize it, but their yields were not that great. And maybe he's still working on it. I don't know. I don't keep up with it. Though morels are one of my favorites to eat. How long can an LC keep for in a fridge compared to an agar plate? I find that they last a lot longer than Zell. I think it's because they're sealed up. Really, with dishes, the problem with dishes is that your parafilm dries out. So I've kept liquid culture in the fridge for a year, and it came out and worked just fine. Thanks, Farmer Mac. I appreciate you guys watching and keeping up with us and growing this channel with us. Rocky River Mushrooms. Care to talk about when you were starting to realize you could make your business work? What were some key steps? I got stuck at the farmers markets and sporadically selling. I like how you made that sporadically. Selling to restaurant stores. Yeah. Yes. Let me answer that in 1 second. Let me replace it. Got this cool new mushroom that I'm going to try. That I'm going to try to clone out and do a test on. So it's a really light blue mushroom. I'm liking the texture on the stems. So I'm going to clone this little guy. But first, I got to catalog him from the pictures. So one moment while I do that, and then I'll answer your question. You got Blue Snow 5. All right, so when I started to realize that this could work as a business was shortly after I started selling at farmers markets. And so Samantha and I, we had this big dream that we were going to grow and sell mushrooms and sell them at a price point that was fair to people, right? And so I think we were doing like $4 a pound at farmers markets. I mean, something ridiculous like that. I was a big hippie with big dreams that we were going to be fair in everything we did, just and screw those capitalists who want to make money. And then as we were like a week or two out from going out of business, we thought, heck, we'll try it. We'll raise our prices up because that's the only way we're going to make money is to have, like if we can sell the same pound for $20, then that's $16 more than what we made. And we can actually afford to eat and feed our kids. And so we did it. And all of a sudden mushrooms just flew off the table. We were sold out in like 2 hours. And with that, we started kind of realizing that, maybe it makes sense to sell mushrooms a little bit more expensive. So I think we did that for a few weeks, and it was right about the time that we started realizing that this business could work. Now, realizing that the business could work and figuring out how to make the business work took 3 or 4 iterations, 3 or 4 years before we finally figured out how that works. It made things a little bit more. It made them easier because now when we sold that pound, we had that $16 more. And so it took a while for us to build that up. After we built that up at farmers markets, chefs started coming to us. When chefs started coming to us, we started having to go down on price. And so I just picked kind of what button mushrooms were going for to the restaurants and then added $1 or $2. So now we were at $8 a pound for our restaurants, and we started selling out like crazy. And we hired we didn't have enough, we didn't think we had enough room in this house to grow mushrooms and run the business. So we hired these contractors to grow for us. And we basically, what we did is we gave them the blocks, and then we bought the mushrooms off of them, sold them at market, and had a partnership going on. And that fell through. It didn't really work out for a number of reasons. And after that happened, we borrowed about $2,000 from a buddy of ours, built our grow room, incubation space, made sure the lab was good. And we laid off all the labor we had at that point, and Samantha and I just threw ourselves into work. And that's when everything started really working for us. So we had control of the process from beginning all the way to the end. So we had control of the quality, how much we were selling, that kind of stuff. I hope that answers your question, Rocky River. I realize I spent a long time on that, and I'm kind of all over the place because I'm trying to dig back in my memory, which I have a terrible memory. Yeah. Chris, it's pretty funny whenever she just pops in. She was trying to walk down the stairs quietly because I got the lab door open, and I think she was trying not to bother you guys. She may have been coming down to do laundry or something. The Chinese grow morels outdoors. Yeah, I've seen that. They grow them in beds. I know some people in the United States that do that well. This live Q&A is the best, by the way. Really appreciate your channel, dude. Thanks, Benzel. Appreciate it, man. Actually, this is probably my favorite part of the job so far. And it may be because it's new for me, but I just enjoy talking shop. That's like my most enjoyable thing. So let's see. Ibrahim, making a compound for liquid culture from coconut juice, honey, distilled water. Do you know any other compound kind? Like the constituents of liquid culture, the ingredients would be, you can use honey, caro, which is corn sugar, potato dextrose, malt extract. I've seen people make liquid culture out of master's mixed broth, where they take sawdust and soy pellets, and it's not very clear. It's not clarified, but it clarifies over time. But you can't tell if your culture's clean until it starts to clarify. Milton's Mushroom House. How long will a plain pressure cooked substrate stay good for, or inoculated bulk grain spawn for a few months at least? Okay, so it's a couple different things there. Your plain pressure cooked substrate, if it's uninoculated, let's not even go with pressure cooked. Let's go with steam, the ultra pasteurization, like we do outside the atmospheric steam sterilizer. We've sterilized blocks in that thing before, and even though it's just a pasteurizer, left them on the shelves, and I think we left them there as a test to see how long it would take before they finally went moldy. They stayed good for 8 months. I think that's when we lost the first one. Oh, my camera. Dang it. I think it was 8 months, and then we finally saw where a spore, it looked like it had landed in the top of the bag and started to spread down. So, that's they can stay good a long time. Pressure cooked, I've not even tried that one. Probably longer, especially as long as you have your thing, your flap tucked underneath. As for inoculated bulk grain spawn, this stuff just got a very short shelf life. It's not very long. You can put it in the refrigerator and make it last a little longer. The earlier you do that, the better. With a lot of cold weather oysters, as the grains start to grow, you can throw it in the fridge early if you know that it's not going to last very long, or that you can't use it for a little while. And that'll slow it down and let it take over the block. Favorite mushroom to eat? Probably the black poplar. But oyster mushrooms are a very close second. Kings, black pearls. I mean, honestly, isn't it hard to pick a favorite of something that you just love? I was getting $5 a pound at restaurants. That answers the question nicely. Yeah, you're welcome, Rocky River. I'm glad that it did. Lloyd, do you have issues with insects in the fruiting room? Yes, we have problems right now. In fact, I just killed one with some alcohol. So I'm going to pick him up with the scalpel here. Just so you know, he's dead already. But these box elder bugs, man, they get everywhere. Every little nook and cranny and crack. I hate them. I hate them. They're getting in our grow room occasionally. They don't really cause problems except as they're walking around, they're spreading contamination around. Fruit flies, fungus gnats, so to speak. The fungus gnats, what we do with those is we just have the fly paper from Walmart. And the fly paper from Walmart allows us to, as they land somewhere, we put it near the mushrooms, and when they land, they just get stuck. I mean, that gets rid of them pretty nicely. That also, not allowing substrate to stay in your room for very long. If you allow substrate to stay in your room, you allow larvae to grow, hatch out. Get rid of your substrate fast. You should have fast turnaround. You know, the longer you sit on the sit, the more likely it is to contaminate everything around it. You know, 1 flush, 2 flush, gone. You're going to keep your room cleaner that way. Does an LC mycelium extract of medicinal mushrooms have the full spectrum of beneficial ingredients? And what do you think about that? So, Log Dog, I don't know. I've taken LC, tested it, and when it tested clean, I've just, drank it before, and I can't say that I can tell a difference. I don't know if it's got everything in it or not. Where it's grown on sugar, it's going to be, I figured the medicinal components are going to be kind of anemic at best, but I could be wrong. I just don't know. Hey, Lloyd, thanks, man. Nashville, another Tennessean. What's up, Tennessee? It's been a long time since I've gotten to throw the Tennessee on. How long does it take to see the first pins after you place blocks in the fruiting room? ? It has been 4 days, and I've seen nothing yet on a 6 to 16C fruit induction strain greenhouses between. So are you saying that it's 6 to 16 degrees Celsius is when it can be induced to fruit, and then you've got your room between 7 and 14 degrees Celsius? I can tell you that when I put an oyster mushroom block in the grow room, it takes about 10 days before I'm picking mushrooms. I hope that helps. Michael Lee says, I use wide mouth, half pint mason jars as quick turnaround, petri dishes, distilled water, agar-agar, and potato flour works great for those just getting into the business. Yeah, I think that's great. If you can use off-the-shelf components in the beginning, do that. As you get going, I think it's best that you actually start working with petri dishes, agar slants, things like that. But, I mean, you can see I still work with jars. So, Lloyd Simmons in the house. Yeah, Tennessee in the house. Pragmatic Troll. Ooh. It's a nickname if there ever was one, huh? Hey, Mossy, my family got me into growing mushrooms with a few grow kits for the holidays. One of them went full trike mold in less than 2 days. User error or pre-contaminated? Thanks. I don't know. I don't know enough about your vectors. Vectors would be pathways of contamination. I don't know what they look like when you got them. I don't know where they came from. Without knowing more. So I can look at a block if it's contaminated and tell, did that come through the filter patch? Did that come through the spawn? Did that come from a bad cook? I can see all of these things by reading patterns and stuff when I can actually see the blocks. But when I can't see them, a question like that, I just don't have enough information to tell you. And if I told you something that was wrong and you went and berated the people that they got the blocks from, that could be real bad because it could be user error. I don't know. Miss Redwina, I'm near Nashville as well. Yeah, you're welcome. And what's up, another Tennessee girl, not Tennessee boy. Yeah, it's nice seeing all these. Oh, guys, hold on 1 second. Let me get this other picture taken. We got strain number 3. I love this digital assistant for the photography. This thing just blows my mind. And it was a gift. Ben got it for me. One second, guys. I'm not trying to ignore you. Just let me set this up. Focus point A. And focus point B. All right. Sorry, guys. Let me get back to it. Do you have let's see, Lloyd says, do you have a preferred method of using positive pressure in the clean room? What do you mean by a preferred method? If you're talking about Do I prefer making positive pressure in the lab? Then yes. If you mean like I prefer mine coming through the wall. It comes through a dust filter and then an allergen filter on the top of my HEPA filter box. So that air passes through those two filters. Then it goes through my HEPA filter. And my HEPA filter has lasted years, continues to produce clean work. I always try to over filter on those cheap filters. I've probably spent more on those filters than it would have been to replace the HEPA filter at this point, but my HEPA filters lasted. Oh my gosh, I think this thing's 11 years old now. I bought it from Paul Stamets, Fungi Perfecti, at let's be fungi.com back in 2000 and no, it was 2012 when I bought this HEPA filter. I was using a still air box for that before I started growing mushrooms. 2008, I think. See, Collier was 2. Yeah, so about 2008 would have been whenever I started first growing mushrooms. And oh, thanks. Yeah, I love this mug. Some friends of mine, Stony Clay Station, they make these for us. And we used to sell them at farmers markets and stuff a lot. And another company called the Tootsie Truck makes a reishi hot cocoa during the wintertime, or at least they used to when we were going to markets. And the reishi hot cocoa, we would take the reishi, put it in the mug, then have the recipe. People can go get cocoa packets. We weren't allowed to sell the cocoa because we didn't grow it or have any relationship with it local. So, hey, how's my King Blue LC order coming along? Let's see, Justin L. I think yours went out yesterday, actually. You should check your email. If you got a tracking number, it went out yesterday. If it hasn't, then it's going out this week. Probably Monday. You'll get a tracking number Monday, then it'll go out Tuesday. Just kidding. I'm excited. Words. I can't wait to. Oh, there. I guess I should have read the rest. Yeah, King Blue, man. It's one of my all-time favorite mushrooms. Actually, I was just on the phone with a person that buys blocks off of us. I won't. Sometimes block customers don't like people to know that they buy blocks off me, but he was just telling me he just got to try the King Blue for the first time. He's like, man, I like that almost as much as I like the Black Pearl, and it is one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite creations that I've ever made. Yeah, man, they're just fantastic. Let's see, Van Zell, best method for PCing liquid culture jars and not getting spillover. Are your jars not sealed? I seal mine. They have the self-healing injector port and then the syringe filter so that air can pass through there. There shouldn't be any spillover. If you're getting a spillover, what's probably happening is you're getting too hot and then you're getting too cold too fast. So you need to cool those a little slower. Like, for instance, I don't cool my LC in front of my flow hood because that allows the jars to boil off. Unless I use a long neck bottle, the boiling of my mixture comes out of the jar through my micropore tape. Okay, I don't use micropore tape. I use the syringe filters. And I do get some boil off out of my agar sometimes when I've got polyfill in. But usually that's when I go too hard, too fast, and allow that pressure difference to build, because that's what happens when that pressure difference builds. That's whenever it starts to boil. Otherwise, it shouldn't really boil. Your shaker weight on your pressure cooker should just barely. It should not be rocking. If it's rocking, like I get mine up to the point that it's rocking, and then immediately cut it down to where it just starts hissing. And one hiss every 6 seconds or so is great. Lloyd Simmons, lol. It's been too long now. I don't remember what we're laughing at. Chris Solomon, I'm like a mushroom. Everybody keeps me in the dark and feeds me BS. Yeah, that's I've heard that one a lot. That's the old engineers joke I've always heard. I'm surrounded by engineers. They always have that kind of sense of humor. Computer programmers too. I've got a computer programmer friend, Mark, and he was telling me that's what computer programmers always say. Michael Lee, so how do you crossbreed species? I don't crossbreed species. I cross strains. It's still always the same species so far. There are people who do the crossbreeding of species, and usually they do that by what's it called? Protoplast fusion, I think is the name of that. I could be wrong. There's talk about people using snake venom to dissolve the cell walls and of the two different species you're trying to cross, mixing it all together. They repair their structure, and then they've got genetic information from both species in there, and whether or not that creates a fertile cross or not is questionable. Hybrid is what that would be. If you're talking crossing my strains, how I cross those, I'll give you the traditional manner. The traditional manner is that you take spores take a spore print from one mushroom, spore print for another, use your inoculation loop, sterilize it, cool it in the agar, pick up your spores by dragging it across, and then spore streak your plate in a pattern kind of like that. And then, so that's one way. And then taking your spore print from the other, and then just crossing. And then whenever there's intersections, you want to always select for those intersections. Another way, City over Singleton taught me this method. Take your spores, cool it in the agar, collect the spores, create a V, spore streak of one type there, spore streak of another right there. And then you'll see the mycelium kind of meet in the middle. And of course, the closer it is, the more likely that you've got your crosses there. And then you sector out from right there where you can see the crosses happening. That's usually the best way. I think it's oyster mushrooms have a 25% chance or something like that of breeding with themselves. And when you're talking about billions of spores, that doesn't really matter. So you can use a single spore print to make, to produce isolate strains. When you have the two varieties growing in like that, I think they have upward of a 75% chance or more of actually breeding with each other. So that's how we cross different strains together. So speaking of that, I got to do my next one real quick. All right. We'll do a multi-point focus. All right. Rich C says, boxers or briefs? Joke. Well, how much appreciated for the live feed. These are awesome. Hey, thanks, Rich. I appreciate it. Just to go ahead and answer, boxer briefs. A hybrid between the two. Those are the best. Justin L. Sweet. I'm so excited. Heck, yeah, man. I think you're going to like those King Blues, man. That's my best strain that I've produced so far. As far as just raw productive potential, moneymaker. We call it the ugly fungling. If you look up ugly fungling on Google, you'll find Melanie's article on our blog about that particular mushroom. It is ugly when it pins, but such a beautiful mushroom when it grows in. Can I grow King Blues in warmer temperatures, 80s? Yes, you can. They are more prone to blotch, but most oysters are. What happens from the point of view of the mycelium blocks when and if you dunk them in water? Can heat, cold, water, stress be used to cause desired responses? Yes. Yes, Danny, it can. Shiitake blocks are often put in the refrigerator, cold shocked, like cold shocked is what that would be called, and then taken out, slapped, given the old shiitake smack, cut the ring off is what I would do. Cut all the plastic. Like you got your block right here, cut a ring around the bottom, leaving plastic on the bottom as your tray, and then yanking that bag off. And then what that allows you to do is that tray on the underside will keep mushrooms from growing straight down, growing all over the place and being a big mess. And then usually the combination of that cold shock and the smack has been very, very effective at causing heavier flushes. Some strains respond to it better than others. As far as heat, cold, stress, water, dunks, and all that kind of stuff on other strains, that's the only one I really have experience with doing shocks to get better responses. Benzel, okay, I'll temper down my PSI temp. I usually go 15 PSI for 20 minutes, so maybe I'll try 10. So I would still go 15, just watch your heat. Or look at the sterilization charts and find out at 10 PSI how long it is and just stretch your time out that way. But I do mine at 15 PSI for about 20 to 30 minutes. I just keep my heat down. Fungus among us. Yes, there is, Chris. Rich C. What are we laughing at again? I can't remember. Dylan K. In my yard, just found a ton of sweet smelling mycelium and some dead leaves. Super excited to see what it is. Hey, man, if it's something cool, clone it. Or send it to someone to be cloned. There's a lot of people that clone cool stuff, like myself included. Lloyd Simmons, good labor is hard to find. Do you feel a mushroom business could benefit from automation and monitoring systems? This will help reduce labor. What are your thoughts? Lloyd, I love automation. Automation is my favorite thing in the world. If I could go entirely robotic, I probably wouldn't, because I'd be a little bit bored just being a machine tender all the time. Well, I could hire people to run the machines. So, you know, there's that. I like my labor. My labor's not been, good labor's not been hard to find. Jason and Laura are fantastic workers. They come in, they do their work. Call in a bit more than I'd like, but I think that's the case of any time. They've got a fantastic work ethic. I know if I need something done really fast, ask Jason to do it. If I need something done with utmost tediousness and care, ask Laura to do it. So they've not been hard for me to find. That said, automation is great. I'm really big into any kind of automation for production. I do have 2 contractors that work for me doing the internet stuff, and Robin and Melanie. If you guys ever talk to anyone on Facebook, it's always Melanie. If you talk to someone on Instagram, it's either Samantha or Robin. And so I've got a great crew around me. I've not really had a problem with that. But that said, automation is like my favorite thing in the world. So, and if you can tell, we do a lot of simple systems that automate a lot of processes or just remove processes by keeping a simple system going. So thanks, Robbie. I appreciate that I'm demand. And I appreciate you watching this and growing the channel with us. Andy Tuesday says, I read in Wyoming, a mushroom cultivation business used prison inmates. It didn't work out. Yeah, that doesn't sound like something I'd want to do. Who was it? Who grew in Wyoming? If it was a big farm, certainly it wasn't Wind River. No, it wouldn't have been Joey. But Doc Holliday was part of that, maybe. I don't know. I don't know who that was, but that does not sound like a good way to go. Teaching prisoners to grow mushrooms, what could go wrong? Well, I mean, you know, maybe it'd go right. I don't know. What is the glow-in-the-dark mushroom? There's a lot of them, Chris. Panella stypticus, I think is the scientific name for it. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the common name for it. There's a lot of glow-in-the-dark mushrooms. There's just quite a few. So there's not any one that I can think of, but that's the most common one I can think of that's usually sold in kit form. I think you mentioned in your new bagger video that you would make the plans available. Is that on the horizon still? It is. Ben's been working on those. I think he's got some help for crew working with him on it. He'll have those out, guys, as soon as he can. It'll be available to any of our Patreon supporters, I believe. So that's going to be the best way to get it. It's just to join our Patreon. And Rich, I know. So he's building 2 baggers that were ordered right now. And those 2 baggers that he's building, he's been taking photos, doing parts list. I think that's the first thing that's going to come out is your materials list. That'll be the first thing that rolls out on Patreon very soon. And then after that will come more instructional stuff. And we're also working on doing some exclusive video content for Patreon that will be a little bit more in-depth stuff, like specific, like patrons being able to ask questions and get video responses for that kind of stuff. Dry out blocks between flushes or back into fruiting conditions immediately after. So Robbie, we cut a square, pick the first flush. When the second flush comes on, I mean, we pick the first flush, we do nothing. Second flush just comes out and we don't do anything else. Chris Solomon, I love trippy stuff. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I don't tend to like trippy artwork. But I love, just fun, trippy stuff. Lloyd Simmons, hey, thanks for the info. You're great. By the way, will you have a meet and greet in Knoxville? I'll be there. Sure, let's do it. If you want to help me set it up, let's get it set up. I'll be happy to do it. Curiosity constant. Thanks for sharing your time and knowledge. Really appreciate. Once I finish the laboratory in my medieval cave, I'll buy you some strain if you do shipping to France. I don't right now, but I would love to, and I would love to see pictures of that cave grow. That sounds amazing. Please share that. Go join the Mossback Mushroom Syndicate on Facebook and share that setup with us. Any Tuesday, they said that the prisoners didn't have the touch to rough. They were too rough on the mushrooms. I mean, you get what you pay for, guys. Justin L., what are your feelings on this big swing in the culture in the USA dealing with ethnogens and psilocybin? What a change from younger days. Talking about the legal things happening. Yeah, sure. So, this is kind of a touchy subject for a lot of people. You guys got to remember, I'm still in East Tennessee. It's very, very conservative here. It's opening up. And even though I'm in East Tennessee, which is surprisingly so more liberal than Middle and West Tennessee, there's still a lot of people looking down on psilocybin. It's way less common than it used to be. I mean, there's been a huge change in the past 10 years. So my thoughts on it, I think it's a good change. I think I'm very libertarian. I feel like if you're not hurting someone else, you should be allowed to do with your own body what you want to do. I mean, goodness. What is this, Soviet Russia? Beyond that, guys, I will say that I know a lot of people who have had traumatic experiences and have used mushrooms to work through those. I know a lot of people who have helped, kick addiction with it. But it's all hush hush, very, under the radar kind of stuff. Daniel C., which 2 or 3 types of mushrooms would be good to grow within the same grow room, preferably from your LC selection on your site? Conetooth, King Oyster, and King Blue. If you're wanting 3 different species. If you're wanting like 3 different oysters, King Blue, Black Pearl I'm pretty sold on these days. And I would say Pathfinder, but I think I'm going to say NNG. The NNG is so the NNG oyster is one, and this may be because I have some very strong sentimental attachment to the NNG. It's called the NNG because it's the Nana and Gramps oyster. It came off my Nana and Gramps' land. My grandfather had my cousin, or one of my second cousins, first cousin twice removed, someone in the clan. I can't remember my exact attachment to him, but he had him cut down the sweet gum tree, and then my grandfather passed away very soon after. And after he passed away, the mushrooms, or the sweet gum tree, just kind of kept sitting there, and the logs were on the ground. They hadn't been moved anywhere yet because we just wanted to cut down because it was dangerous. And, the grandkids, the great grandkids, and everybody were playing up there. And it used to be where we had our big gardens and everything else. And so because of that, they wanted that tree down. The logs sit around. They grow those mushrooms on it. I clone it because I'm like, that's the last tree my grandfather ever had cut down. I feel like he's leaving me a little gift, So I've got the NNG oyster. It turned out to be tough as nails to pull off a block. So we call it as tough as Gramps. And it's got these amazing ballerina-esque like frills on the edge. And as we say, it's as beautiful as Nana and as tough as Gramps. Which, you could say it was as beautiful as my grandfather and as tough as my Nana, because that would work too, honestly. So the NNG would be the third one on that one. I know it kind of went off a little bit. That kind of always gets me a little bit thinking about how that's my last gift from my grandfather. Michael Lee, have you ever tried using fully colonized blocks as inoculant? I have, and it worked ish. It's got a higher contamination rate, but in a pinch, it'll work. Jose Garibaldi says, any tips on keeping the lion's mane from bruising? Do you mean during picking? If that's the case, switch to Conetooth. Bear said, Conetooth, just reach under. It's going to have all these branches. You reach under, grab it by the base, reach over the top, and just twist. And that's the best way I've found. Conetooth is just tougher and sweeter and better textured. It's just a better all-around edible mushroom. If you're wanting lion's mane and you don't want it to bruise, you still got to just be able to reach behind as much as possible and grab and twist. That way you don't have any bruising on the front. But lion's mane bruises. That's just what it's going to do. Heck, every now and then I've seen people spray water, and a water droplet landing on that thing will cause it to bruise. So, hey, Chris, thanks, man. I'm glad that you like the YouTube videos. I'm sorry you got to go, man. We'll do this again. MSM Hasink says, do you think Elmarius oyster mushroom is interesting to grow for restaurants? I've never grown the Elmarius elm. I've only ever grown the Elm A and the Elm Z, which are 2 Austriatus oysters. They call them elm because they look like elm. As far as I can tell, they have an elm-like appearance, but they are nothing like. They're not the species elm. The Ulmarius elm oyster. You are what you eat. Fungal gnats. Just received beneficial nematodes that might take them out of my houseplant soil. What can I do for my fruiting room control? So you are what you eat. I actually answered this a little bit earlier, but I'll go ahead and answer it again real quick. Flypaper from Walmart. It's just pine rosin on strips. Perfectly safe to have in your grow room. The flies, they constantly fly away somewhere, land, fly away somewhere, land. So what we used to do when we go in the grow room, we just make sure that we stir up as many flies as possible. So that way they'll land on the tape. I actually don't have very many flies either, though, because we really only allow blocks to stay in our grow room 2 weeks. We try to interrupt that fungal gnat cycle as much as possible. If we ever see larvae in a block, we throw it away no matter whether it's fruited or not. Just always interrupt their life cycle and keep your room clean. No water on the floor. Try to keep mushrooms out of the floor. I say that right now while my grow room is literally covered in mushrooms where I made a big mess. My employees are going to love me tomorrow. So Jason, Laura, if you're watching this, just know you got a mess coming up. That's probably your best way. Just keep everything clean, keep water off the floor, and don't allow blocks to sit in there. I had problems with fungus gnats way more when I had used straw than when I used the self-sealed blocks. Whenever I've had the blocks that were sealed and everything, those do not have as much of a problem with fungus gnats because they're sealed for the longer. Now, if you're growing on straw and you've got holes in your log and they're getting in there and they're laying eggs before the mycelium really even starts to grow, the best thing to do is coffee filters. Cut them to size or cut them into quarters. Sticky glue stick around your hole. Slap that coffee filter on there. Glue stick, slap, and just process it like that. That'll keep them out of your straw bags. So your king oyster, I see you do not case it, and you just mentioned that it can be grown in the same temp room as the king blue and the cone tooth. Wow, I got to get that strain of king oyster. Yeah, it's my giant king oyster. That's the only strain of kings I sell right now. It's the giant one. I've got a picture somewhere where my hand is sitting in a cap, and it's literally interesting. For a blurry spot. Anyways, the cap is like that big around my hand, and the mushroom stem is as big as my forearm. I love that giant king strain. Not all of them produce like that. That was a very big one, very strange one, but it was a good one. What's up, iMaster? Hey, I just got an email from you or a message that I was going to respond to, I think. Anyways, welcome to the chat. I can't find it right this second, but welcome to the chat. And you're not late, man. I don't have a time on these. I probably should set up a standardized time on Sunday to do these little sit-down, Sundays. Any plans to try and tackle trying to grow boletes? No, I don't have any plans for that. I would help anyone with any knowledge that I had to do so. But most boletes are mycorrhizal, which means that they pair with plants, and I don't have a lot of experience with that. I could direct you to people who do that would be most certainly willing to help you. And I think it's a great idea. I think we need to get people in on this stuff. You guys got to remember, I'm an old fart in this industry now. And being an old fart, like, I got in early, started growing oyster mushrooms. And at this point, I'm just I'm an old dog, I'm learning new tricks, though. What's your best tip to inoculate spawn in bags? HEPA filter. Work in front of a flow hood. That's my best tip. Cracker. You're not late, man. Don't worry about it. The whole thing will be on there soon. Double Duck. Dude, I love your vids. I'm doing some culture work right now, too. Hey, that's great, man. I always love hanging out with people when they're doing lab work. Like, let's just hang out. You guys do lab work. I'll do lab work. Let's just talk back and forth. Maybe we can get some, I don't know. Do they have ways to do group live streams, right? Where I don't have to read. I can actually hear you guys. Just try that sometime. Carlos, what's your thoughts on Lingji? So reishi, I love reishi. I take it every day in my coffee. I drink it in tea. I grow it once or twice a year. My favorite strain to grow is the Boston Edison reishi. I got that from Ryan Paul Gates. It's not super bitter. Apparently one of my dogs is unhappy. It is a super fast grower. It's not very bitter, and it fruits like crazy. So that's my favorite Lingji or Reishi. Terrestrial fungi is Ryan Paul Gates. Terrestrial fungi. Check him out. I think he's got a code Mossy that you can use. If not, send him an email. Let him know that you got it. You heard about it from me. Ryan and I are good buddies. Salting cracker. I noticed it looks like Oakenspore uses your fruiting method. I haven't seen his fruiting method, but I wouldn't be surprised. Grant Pickens, you might want to change that. It says, can you grow chaga on BITCH blocks? And it says it's held for review. So just so that my under 18 crowd can continue watching this, I'm going to hide that one. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I love Oakenspore. His videos are hilarious. That guy's such a better video maker than I am. You guys should go give him some love. I'm a little afraid he's gonna blow me out of the water. Let's see. Gonzo, love your content. Hey, thanks, man. I love hearing that. I love that you guys are finding me useful. So anything I can do. Daniel C. Great info. Is the turnaround okay nowadays for the LC? LC is going out the door very quickly. So I think I had a couple that ended up taking 3 or 4 weeks. But most of the time, if you order 1 week, it goes out my next shipping day. So, hey, Grant, if you don't mind just typing out the whole message again, I just want people to be able to see it in the live chat later on when the live chat is up for people to just review. Instead of just the replacing the word. But you have another question. Do you have any experience with chicken of the woods? I do, and I've grown it indoors. And we got about a 1/4 pound fresh off each block. It wasn't very good yields. There's a company in Poland or Hungary. I'm not sure which. It's somewhere in Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe's got a very strong mushroom culture, and those guys kick American booty. So one of my dreams is to go tour Eastern Europe one day. I really want to go there, take Samantha and the kids maybe, and just go mushroom hunt and just go see some of my, my ancestral lands, we'll say. I've got some Eastern European in me. I'm a weird mix of Eastern Europe and Northwestern Europe. Pretty much anywhere the Vikings went, I have blood from, which is weird. I've got blood from Sicily, from Greece, from heavily influenced from Normandy, northern Germany, and then, of course, Scotland, Ireland, England, and Scandinavia. So, but going back, I know I'm going off on a tangent. Chicken of the Woods, it was great. It took a long time. It tasted good. Found out the best way to do it was to take the top of your bag, stretch it over to where the filter patch was touching the top of the block, and then allowing it to fruit from the filter patch. It was a slow grower, but tasty. Any Cordyceps tips? No, Gonzo, I don't have any Cordyceps tips. I've tried it one time. I failed miserably. I really want to get into it. I just love it. I think the idea of it, using it as a culinary mushroom and not as a medicinal mushroom, is fantastic. It's got some strong, just selling it to my restaurants as an energizing tea, as a soup stock. I just want to do that. So if anybody is wanting to work with me on growing Cordyceps, let me know. I would love to hear if you've got experience doing it. I'd love to hear how you did it. William Padilla Brown, I've got his ebook on it that I printed off in paper form, or as PDF, and I've got that printed off in paper, and I've been planning on growing it out. I think he's got a new one out that I don't have, and I know Alex. Oh, what is Alex's last name? Alex of Mushroom Revival. Alex Dorr. So there's Alex Dorr, William Padilla Brown, and Ryan Paul Gates. Those three guys. So you've got Ryan Paul Gates of Terrestrial Fungi, William Padilla Brown of Apex Growers, or Apex Grow, Apex Mushroom, something like that. And then Alex Dorr of Mushroom Revival. All of them have stuff on growing Cordyceps. Miss Fredwina, if you only grow reishi a couple times a year, do you dehydrate them for later, or just I just dehydrate them? Gonzo Prime says, been growing reishi for a little bit and would like some tips on my own mycelium bank. Maybe some strains you like for reishi, or do you want other stuff? Like, are you asking for strains on anything else other than reishi, or are you wanting specific reishi strain tips? Grant Pickens, hey man, don't be sorry. No, I just asked you that as a favor. I appreciate you doing that as a favor for me. Sorry, can chaga be grown on birch sawdust blocks? Well, that's a lot better than the female dog blocks, huh? Chaga, I don't think can be grown. I think it's got to be a living birch tree. I don't know that for sure. I've never seen anyone do it. So I don't really have, I don't really have an idea on that really. Salting Cracker says Eastern Europe has a much older history than the West. Yeah. If you're talking about mushrooms, for sure. If you're talking about just written history, I'd say you're probably right. I mean, Eastern Europe has kind of been closer to the birthplace of civilization, so they kind of had it first. I mean, basically any white person has ancestors where people left the East, went up into the Caucasus Mountains, settled the Eastern Europe, and then went west, right? So, I mean, of course they've got a longer history. Unless you're counting the Neanderthal in us. I guess they were there first. Hey, Gonzo, yeah, if you're willing to grow alongside me, we should do some reishi or some cordyceps videos. I mean, I'm happy to try that out. I love the idea of reishi. So you said other stuff. I'm a newer guy, vet from the Navy, and would like tips on building a mycelium bank and any information at all. It's greatly appreciated. Well, if you're going to do long-term storage and keep your an actual mycelium bank, you'll need to get some way of doing culture slants. So I buy these centrifuge tubes. They're sterile centrifuge tubes, 50 milliliter, off of Amazon. I've got sawdust and soy in the bottom, and then I have there we go, a slant of agar, and this allows me. So I've got. I do 3 of these. You can see that this one right here is my Elm Z. Why is that backwards? That's interesting that that's backwards. Anyways, Elm Z is a really good strain. Just going off the cuff there, that is a warm weather elm, and it saved my butt this past summer when we had that heat wave. That's about the only mushroom I could grow, even with 3 air conditioners running constant. So. That's how you would save those petri dishes, or how you're going to do your expansion work with that. As far as strains go, my King Blue Oyster is one of my all-time favorites. My Giant King strain is a good favorite of mine. Comb Tooth, I think, is a better Hericium than Lion's Mane. Bear Set's a good one. It doesn't have as long of a shelf life. I don't find it as tasty, but man, the way that smells when it grows, when it matures, it starts to brown a little bit on top. It just starts making the whole grow room smell like maple syrup. That's a great mushroom. Lambert's 123 is an amazing blue oyster. Ordering from Lambert's is a good way to go if you're wanting bulk spawn. If you're just wanting a culture, my blue oyster is a descendant of 123. It is not 123, but it is an isolate from it. Let's see, Black Poplar. I love Black Poplar. Sword Belt's a good strain, and chestnuts are a good seller. I don't like chestnuts personally. I think they taste disgusting, but they sell to my chefs really well, and I my family all loves them. In fact, people in my family who don't like mushrooms, like my 2 youngest kids, they love chestnuts. So, which is funny because we're all allergic to nuts. And thank you for your service. I was in the Marine Corps for about 6 weeks and then got a medical discharge. So I would have been in the Navy there with you. Jose, I can help you out growing cordyceps. I have some going. It comes down to good genetics and a good recipe. Hey, that sounds good. If you wouldn't mind just emailing me at mossycreekmushrooms@gmail.com, and let's get together on that, man. I'd love to do some stuff with you. Would you show us your build for pasteurize the block, the steamer, and everything in the next video? I'd be glad to see the beast. So I would love to. I'm afraid of liability issues. It is a homebrew job, and I'm afraid if I show it to you and you build it, or someone in the States in particular builds it, and then gets hurt. Wow, my voice cracked. They get hurt doing it. then they're going to be able to come back to me and say, well, they built it this way. They showed me how to build it. They're, asking for it. I think I need to be, compensated, and I'm just afraid of doing that. So we are working on some stuff for you guys. People have questions about anything that we feel is kind of a liability to show you. We are working on ways to show that to you. We're working with an electrical engineer and some other people to help to see if we can't get some schematics drawn up. We're working on building our own stir plates and then selling the stir plates to people. There's a lot in the works going on right now, guys. It's just slow going, especially while Ben still works his full-time job. When he comes on full-time here in the next few months, we'll have a little bit more Ben to work with, and Ben's our technical guy. I'm just the biology guy. What are your... Eram, hey bro, if I send you price, can you send me culture? Email me. Just email me. We'll talk. We'll see what I can do for you. What are your temps currently in your fruiting room? About 65 degrees Fahrenheit. That's my ideal. 65 is my ideal. Right now, when it gets cold at night, it's dipping down to about 60, 55 to 60, and then the day it kind of warms up to about 65. Grant Pickens, I've spawned out a ton of morel spawn in hopes of inoculating all my garden. Have you ever heard of any successful grows of morels? Yeah, they do it in China all the time. It depends heavily on what strain you're using or what species, what strain, what your conditions are. And I don't know any of that stuff. I pick morels in the wild. I don't actually know anyone personally who's been growing them. So I think I know a guy on Facebook who grows them, but I don't actually know his real name. I just know his Facebook name. So I don't know how to send you to him. Miss Fredwina, that is something that is stumping me too. And what I want to do is a steamer sterilizer for blocks. Yeah, it's... I really want to show it to you guys. Ben's asked me not to. So get on to him. That said, without throwing Ben under the bus, I really want to show it to you guys. Here's the simple solution for you. Look up how to build a boiler on YouTube. Someone who is willing to take on that liability. And then just pipe your steam, whatever they've got the steam piping into, just pipe it into the bottom of a cattle trough. We bought a 300-gallon cattle trough for about $300. And Ben built a wooden frame in the bottom so that it would be lifted off so the steam could get under all the blocks and then rise up. And we can fit about 170 12-pound blocks in that. So that's a little over a full ton of substrate. Let's see. Hold on, Michael Lee. Your message got flagged. I'll have to look at it. God bless you, dude. Thank you. Oh, you're very welcome, Gonzo. Yeah, man. Thank you. Dave Ferguson, how do you keep contamination out of your fruiting room? Thanks for your tips. I don't try to keep contamination out of my fruiting room. So this is where people used to do positive pressure into their grow room. Where our grow room is in our home, we can't do positive pressure. We'll have spores bleeding out into our living space, and oyster mushroom spores are terrible for your lungs. So we don't try to keep contamination out. We just allow contamination to go in. All we do is we do management. So we do twice a week cleaning, deep cleaning of the grow room, and then we do block management. We don't allow blocks to sit in there for a long time, collecting contamination and then continuing to breed it and spread it. The contamination that you're getting inside is going to be less than what you're getting outside typically, unless you've got like a mold bloom in your house or something, or your grow space. And as long as you are doing your regular cleanings and you're doing good block management and rotation, you shouldn't have any real problems. Also, keeping bugs from going from one place to another by using that sticky tape that you can get at Walmart, that fly paper. That's just pine rosin. That's a great way to go. Let's see, Milton's Mushroom House. Could you give me a name of soy pellets from Tractor Supply? I don't get my soy pellets from Tractor Supply. It's Faithway Mills, and they're out of Alabama, I think. And I get them from my local co-op. So you might go to your local co-op and ask them if they can buy from the Faithway Mills out of Alabama. And typically they can. And if you tell them you're going to be a regular customer, they'll store a pallet for you. That's in my experience. I've had 3 or 4 co-ops do it for me. What grain or hardwood pellets do you use? Hardwood pellets do you use for lion's mane? I just use the hardwood fuel pellets from Tractor Supply, or any hardwood fuel pellet works. I've used all the brands. I use soy for growing. So it's the Master's Mix is what I use for growing lion's mane, comb tooth, bear's head. Anything that I grow on, I grow with Master's Mix. And that would be the Faithway mills for my soy pellets. And then, there's 100 different hardwood fuel pellets I get. So I just do a 50-50 mix of those. Grant Pickens, I just picked up some Enoki LC. Any thoughts? I love Enoki. It grows best in cold. I actually prefer to grow it without the high CO2. I like the bigger caps, the bigger stems. So, that's up to anyone else. So let's see. Michael Lee, your comment was flagged. Let me see why. Oh, okay. I don't know why they got flagged. I'm going to show it. Anyone check in the chat? Michael Lee posted something about his channel. Said a still drum and a hot water heating element is the way to go. I mean, that's basically what I've done, or basically what Ben did. Check out my YouTube channel, Michael Liam's Mushroom Rangers. It's a zero pressure system. Yeah, you don't want pressure, especially homebrew stuff. Rocky River mushrooms, you'll be safe as long as you can wire it and run it at atmospheric pressure. Yeah, that's kind of basically atmospheric pressure is pretty safe comparatively. You're still dealing with steam. Be careful with steam. It's hot. You will burn yourself. Don't stick your hand in there, when the element is broken and electrocute yourself. I hate electrical shock. I get shocked so easy. Does having smoking pellets versus heating pellets make a difference? I don't think so as long as it's hardwood. I've not actually tried it. I wouldn't use any fruit smoking pellets. And typically stuff that is used for smoking is pretty hard. Like, so you've got fruit. You've got, oh, man. What was that one really hard wood? They make like axe handles and stuff out of it. I can't remember. Anyways, you can smoke with pretty much any hardwood pellet. And you don't want to use resinous ones. Mesquite, I've never grown mushrooms on mesquite, so I don't know. Grant Pickens, if you build a boiler, pressure relief is very important. Yes. That's another. I don't want. People are pressurizing these 55-gallon drums. Those things can't take much pressure. I don't want anything to do with that. I don't want anybody getting hurt watching me and watching Eric Myers and then trying to combine systems. And, it's not really meant to be combined. There's pressure in a barrel. I mean, 1-2 PSI is still not great for a barrel. So Ciotha says, hi from Texas. Hey, Texas. I sent a message about a class for shadowing this summer. Still up for free labor. So I'm actually not taking any free labor. I'm absolutely doing classes. I'm going to do classes this year. In fact, I've already got some classes planned for, I think, the 21st of this month, maybe March. So I've definitely got all that stuff. I don't really do a lot of shadowing or free labor. And the reason why is because it actually cost me quite a bit to get someone trained up. And there's very little very little bit raw labor that I would need that I wouldn't need to train you on first. So, I mean, you can go out there and cut open blocks for me all day long, and that'd be great. It'd be a big help. But you're not going to learn anything doing it. So, but I absolutely will have classes, and I'll announce the classes very soon. I do allow tours sometimes, very rarely, and I do a lot of in-person consults. People that come here and look at the whole system, go with Samantha on deliveries sometimes, or just whatever they're weak on. We do a lot of in-person consults, and we do the classes. Did you start for personal use or jump right into commercial? I think I always had an inkling that I wanted to do it in business. I mean, I started growing mushrooms, and I thought, oh man, the way to make money doing this, and it's something that interests me, is to go to college. So I went to a community college for a year, took a biodiversity class. I was on the microbiology path. I did not like school. I decided to quit because I was already growing mushrooms at home, and just went, onto that. And that's eventually I started growing for personal use, then farmers markets, then restaurants. So. Curiosity said, I got your point. I understand. Thanks, Steamer. It will be interesting. A post to advise all of the most common things not to do, share the mistakes together and avoid to blow up. Stay safe. You all. Yeah. It's something I wish I was better at so that I could provide you guys. There's a lot of weaknesses I have that I wish I was better at for you guys. So Justin L. Just putting this out there for all growers without steamers. I've been getting comparable yields to master's mix, open air inoculating hardwood fuel pellets and alfalfa pellets, cold water hydrating, grain spawn. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people having good results with that. So anybody who's got questions about that, you should get with Justin. I don't actually have a lot of experience with that. Whoa. Like it wasn't loading comments. I thought I was almost near the bottom. All of a sudden it just went hickory wood. Thank you, Daniel. That's exactly what we were looking at. So if I can go back up and see what's going on further up. Danny, take a holiday to Scotland and smuggle some strains through for me in exchange for haggis. You pay for my plane ticket. I'll come to Scotland all day long. I will happily sit in Scotland. I'd love to go see my old family, my old clan seat, and which is actually on the English side of the border. Though I've got family from the Scottish side as well. Let's see. Justin, how many pounds a week? How many pounds a week am I growing right now? Right now we're doing. Hold on. Oh my gosh. I think I'm doing 700 pounds a week right now. 900 during our peak. Our peak is starting probably next week. So Valentine's Day is always our biggest day of the year. And then after Valentine's Day, it just it kind of cuts down a little bit, but it stays right around our peak, fluctuating from Valentine's Day till tomato season. When tomatoes start coming in and all the other produce that chefs want to buy, mushrooms are no longer the only thing. So, and then all the wild mushrooms start coming in, and that kind of cuts us down a little bit. We usually go down about 650 pounds a week then. But a lot of that has to do with the heat. I think I could probably sell 900 pounds a week, but the heat really cuts our yields down. Have you taken lion's mane as an extract for its effect? I take a powdered supplement by Paul Stamets' company, Fungi Perfecti. I take it every day, and I love it. I take niacin, lion's mane. I eat comb tooth regularly. I eat oyster mushrooms about 3 times a week if I can do it. There's a lot of good studies out there about oyster mushrooms and bad cholesterol and how eating oyster mushrooms, I think it was 3 servings a week, comes out to cutting down your bad cholesterol gigantically. And for being a hefty guy, I mean, I lift weights and stuff, but for being a heavy guy, my blood pressure and cholesterol are fantastic. So, and being 33 and about 50 pounds, 50 pounds obese, it ends up being kind of strange, especially with my family history, that I've got such good cholesterol and blood pressure. There we go. So I take the oyster mushrooms is what I'm saying as I go for more. I do take the lion's mane for its health effects, even though I don't know that they're not blown out of proportion. Actually, a lot of it comes down to, I hope that one day when archaeologists find my bones, they're like, holy crap, this guy was like 90% mushroom and meat. Yes, Grant, hickory. Pete Alvarez, ashwood. What about ashwood? You want to know if you can grow on it? Yes, you can. Justin L, 1.5 pound consistently from 5 pound blocks, sometimes more. What are you referencing? Oh, your cold water hydrating and the lime tech. Is that what that is? Or are you just hydrating? Ibrahim, as far as I don't, if you want me to publish your email address on here, I will. Otherwise, I'll just keep it hidden. Just let me know what you want me to do about that message. But yeah, I mean, you can email me. Like I said, my business email is mosscreekmushrooms@gmail.com. Thanks, George. Yeah, it's hickory. Baseball bats are made out of ash. Oh, gotcha. You were saying the ash one. Okay. Rocky River mushrooms, I was asking, man, I'm getting behind, guys. I'm trying to catch up. I was asking how many pounds of substrate you're spawning a week. Oh, pounds of substrate you're spawning a week. So I do, ideally, the ideal, in this world rarely happens. But ideally, I do 120 12-pound blocks on Tuesday, and then we do 170 12-pound blocks on Thursday, and then sometimes we try to run a weekend order. But usually if we're running on the weekend, it's because we missed a day. And I don't remember what that comes out weight-wise, so I mean, if it was 300 blocks, which it's 290, so at 300 blocks, it'd be something like a little over 3,000 pounds of substrate. As it is, we're probably sitting right around 3,000 pounds. Yep, hickory. Just only 40-ish. Crap. Okay. I don't know what 40-ish is. Sorry, man. Classes are good. I'm not in town until June, then I'll sign up. Yeah, man, that sounds great. I'd love to have you. I'm always happy to have mushroom people around. Michael Lee says you could also use a sauna steamer as a vector. Oh, so that's actually something we're planning on doing, is buying a sauna steamer, hooking it up, showing people how we think is the best way to use it for these steamer setups. But you can buy a 9 kilowatt sauna steamer, and it's basically a plug and play at that point. There's a couple modifications I think Ben was saying that he can make that would be pretty safe and standard and would be extend the life of the unit. Justin Ciotha says to PM him on Facebook. He said, I'm open to a personal consult, just PM. Yeah, Ciotha, just you can PM me on Facebook. It's actually hard for me to remember to PM everybody on here. So anyone, if you can, if you're needing something from me, either email me, private message me. But it's really hard for me to keep track of how many people I've got to get in contact with. So sometimes I see you guys leave messages and I'm like, oh, I'll get to that in a minute. And it gets left, and I don't mean to do that. But if you guys wouldn't mind just always giving me a little nudge to help me be a better service to you. Salting Cracker says, Michael Lee, that's exactly what I plan to build. So, yeah, you got it. Justin L., I'm going to just go ahead and, since you're seeming like you're willing to publish it, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Blair.
Yes.
Hey, baby.
Still down here?
Yeah, I'm still down here.
My
I figured I was going to do another 2-hour one. Oh, look, our numbers our likes just went up when you showed up.
Awesome.
Pretty blondes make the difference. Let's see.
Wow.
Blair says hickory's used for AI. Thanks, Blair. I appreciate that. Hey, Blair. Actually, I saw your cultures went out. Salting Cracker. Originally, I was going to take an old water heater, cut the top off, and hinge it. It's already got insulation elements. So I've actually thought about that, and forgot to mention it to Ben. But I'm sure Ben's already thought about that too, because Ben always thinks of everything before I do when it comes to the technical stuff. Ibrahim, yeah, you're welcome, man. Milton's Mushroom House. Oh, retracted the message. Sauna Steamer is a good class. Yes, I think that'd be a great video to do. So we should definitely do that. Any questions for Samantha while she's here, guys?
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer them.
Have you ever grown oysters on cardboard? We just tried a big bin, and it mutated our typical pearl into crazy bear's head oyster. What? Oh, probably too much CO2 and humidity. Yeah. Let's see. Rocky River mushrooms. How are your mushrooms packaged and delivered? I tried pulp berry containers, but the mushrooms start eating them in the fridge. So we actually just do 10-pound boxes. They're a standard size box. It's 10 pounds. We sell it as if it's going to be 10 pounds. It's an $80 case, and it fits anywhere. Sometimes the case, like if it's a really light mushroom, it can be down to about 6 pounds. If it's a really heavy mushroom, it can be like 12, 14 pounds. The reason why we do that is because a lot of mushrooms just uptake water. And we don't want to sell $8 a pound water to our chefs. And so what we do is we do these standard, I think it's 18 inches long, 10 inches tall, 12 inches wide, something like that, containers. And we just sell them like that. They're just cardboard. We buy them off Uline. And yeah, the mushrooms will start to eat it if you let them sit long enough. You can't let them sit for very long. They'll definitely eat that cardboard.
I will say that we deliver twice a week too with those boxes, and it keeps them fresh. And we just try to plant and pick on a timeline that doesn't have them sitting in the refrigerator. Plus, we only have one refrigerator, and it's an old gas station refrigerator. And whenever it fills up, they have to go. And if they don't go, they don't sit. And so those good practices really prevents them from.
We can hold, what is it, 18? It's 18 cases in our 2 double door. It's like a gas station drink fridge.
6 cases tall.
Yep. And it'll hold those 18 cases. So if we get 18 cases of mushrooms in the fridge over the weekend, and we pick 4 more cases, we usually just throw the oldest 4 away and put 4 more in. Just always keep the freshest we can.
I also try to pick an hour before I deliver. And if at most, maybe pick the night before and then deliver the next day. And that prevents the boxes from getting soggy and wet and condensated. And it gets them to the chef fresh, and you don't have to worry about the box being eaten on your watch. So
yep.
There you go.
There we go. How big is your basement? So I don't remember the square footage of the basement. The entire mushroom operation takes up about 800 square feet. But we have some personal space in the basement, the laundry room, personal storage, tools. Ben uses some space as a workshop. So, I mean, it's about 800 square feet as our total square footage of our mushroom operation. I'm thinking that our total square footage for the downstairs is about 1,200 square feet. But I could be wrong. It's a full-size basement. It's the same size as the upstairs of the house. So.
Oh gosh, wow, that's short.
Hello, Samantha.
Sorry, I was trying to prevent from. Okay, maybe this is better. No, that's too tall.
No, you're fine.
There you go.
That's good. Let's see. The problem with the hot water heater thing is the location of the heating elements. So ashamedly, every time we've had a problem with our hot water heater, Ben's taken care of it. So I've never had to deal with that. I don't know anything about them.
Me either.
I'm useless when it comes to mechanical, electrical, anything. I love breeding plants and mushrooms and raising animals and fish and all that kind of stuff, but it looks uncomfortable.
I figured that.
Indri says, hello, I had a big problem last summer. Temperatures were here where I live go up to 40 C at normal AC, okay to use. I use air conditioning all the time. And when if you're using like a window unit, you don't want it in the room with your mushrooms because it'll
collect spores and burn it up.
Yeah, it'll tear up your AC.
Our air conditioner is.
Samantha, do you find laundry to be an issue when covered in spores?
Well, don't wear the same outfit 2 days in a row. And there are times when I change twice a day. Just, if I. Also, so here's the thing: is I like to work. I'll get up in the morning and then I'll take a shower or whatever, and then I'll do my clean things first. And then as the day goes along, I'll do more dirty things and then wash my clothes. Not like that. And then wash my clothes. You're going to get us taken down. Anyway, so I'll wash my clothes and then, yeah.
Very good. Milton's Mushroom House says, how many chefs do you sell to? I got a decent-sized fruiting room ready to go. And that wasn't a fail. And many strains of spawn ready to go, but not a high-end restaurant market around me. Do you ship them? How many chefs do we sell to now? No. Then only be taco. I'm going to figure that up while Samantha talks to you.
Thanks for all the pressure. Goodness. Wow, I'm behind already. Goodness, Andy.
Yeah, we're right here on that question.
How many chefs do you sell to? Okay.
Yeah.
I will say that I deliver twice a week.
Well,
just to kind of.
I was going to say I'm going to figure out the answer to his question. If you want to go ahead and answer the next one.
Okay. What does it like to be with a man who's half mushroom, half meat?
You missed that part. And it was 90% mushroom. Thank you.
It's awesome. So, what's your favorite pressure washer? So, we've had 2 pressure washers. One was a gas-powered pressure washer, and it would almost boil the water. It was really hot, and I will say that we use that to steep straw in way back in the day and pasteurize it that way before Ben built the boiler, and that was a mess. I never actually used it inside the grow room, but because it was humongous. And I will say that the pressure washer that we have now is a very small electric pressure washer, and it's easy to move around. It's easy to just pick up and go with it. And we have a series of outlets outside of the grow room that I can just plug it in and then drag along, and it's lightweight and it doesn't get in the way and it's not huge. So I advise, and I like the smaller pressure washer. It doesn't, if you're cleaning, we clean twice a week, sometimes 3 times. But if you're cleaning that often and you do a good job about not making a huge mess and letting it sit in the grow room when you pick and everything else, then you don't really need this huge, gigantic, overly powered thing. It's it's overkill. So I just really like the one that we have. And once Andrew gets done with this, I'll go check on that and tell you exactly which pressure washer we've got. Okay.
All right, Milton, answer the question. We have 15 restaurants we sell to right now. To answer your chef's question, some of those restaurants are owned by the same chef. So we have 15 restaurants, less than 15 chefs. So hope that helps. Yes, you said that you have a decent sized fruiting room ready to go and many strains of spawn ready to go, but not a high end restaurant. I didn't think that I had a high end restaurant market either. I did not realize Knoxville, for being the size that it is, has an excellent restaurant scene. I can't sell to all the chefs that want mushrooms. I have a waiting list. So, and actually, now I think about it, it's 17 restaurants, not 15. Grant says, "Oh no, I lost place. If you ever end up fruiting way too many, would you dehydrate them or do you just toss them?" Toss them. I used to dehydrate them, powder them, and sell them at market. But since we don't do that anymore, we just toss them. I never reduce my price on mushrooms. It is a good way to to cut your own throat. So, Michael Lee, I'll skip your question since it's directed to Samantha. She'll be right back. Something Craig said, lol. Have you ever played around with magnets near fruiting blocks out of curiosity? No, Danny, I haven't. And so to go back up to... You have another question here if you want to answer it. Okay, she said hold on, Michael Lee. Just hold it. Have you ever played around with magnets near fruiting block? Oh, I answered that one. Rocky River mushrooms. What is the most labor-intensive part of your operation? I used rolling shelves in my last grow room to reduce walking to and from stages. Gee, I don't know. Probably anything grow room. Probably just managing the grow rooms, like picking, removing blocks, cleaning. All of that is manual work. So our employees take blocks out with the wheelbarrow. They put blocks in with our cart. We have to vacuum. We don't have drains in the floor, so we have to vacuum. All the water that goes into the floor has to be vacuumed up. And because we rent this house, we don't want to leave any water standing or anything like that to damage stuff. So that's one of the reasons why we use dry fogs and things like that. Okay, so Samantha is going to go back and answer Ciotha's question.
So
the pressure washer.
The pressure washer that I use is from Greenworks. It's electric pressure washer, and it's 1,500 psi, and it gets the job done. It's not.
We bought that on Amazon for like $70.
Yep, and it's a really easy starting price point, and it's effective. So, and then I also, at the same time, we bought a wet dry vac because I had one that didn't have wheels on it, and it really was awful. And
we used to put it on the cart so we could move it around.
Or I would just flat out carry it, and I looked like a
terrible.
crazy person, and I'm sure our neighbors absolutely love us, especially whenever I was looking like a crazy person. Anyway, it's 16 gallons is the one we bought, and it's by Craftsman, 16 gallons with wheels, which is fantastic, and that's how we take the water that we put into the grow room and just dump it into the gardens.
Our video, how to grow mushrooms if you don't like cleaning, I think it's got picture or videos of that stuff. And I'll see if I can get Robin to do some affiliate links for you guys. So that way, we get a small kickback. You guys can just go and click on the link and see what exactly the equipment that we have.
But it was a good price point for entry, and it's easy. It's small enough that you can get into those little spaces, but big enough that you don't have to take the water out constantly. And
yeah,
because before that, I think I was using like a 8-gallon or something.
Okay, so Michael Lee says, Samantha, how did you get over the idea of growing mushrooms as a business? My better half was skeptical at first until I started to give her money for bills. Then she kind of came around. That's the best way, in my opinion. Make some money, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, what? You're way more attractive than I thought you were.
So the first thing is that Andrew started as a hobby, just growing mushrooms on the kitchen table just to have food for us as just kind of a side income thing, or not like income, but to save money at the grocery store. Mm-hmm. And that perked my ears up because, of course, we were saving money. And
Samantha's a big saver. I'm the spender in the relationship. She's the saver. She's got squirrel stashes everywhere. She's the kind that you're like, oh, crap, we're out of money. And she's like, nope, not in my trunk. We're not.
I hide it everywhere. I do.
Yep.
And it I don't know. It's just an old habit. Old habits die hard. But and it's a good habit, which is why it's been kept. But just proving that it could bring money in and not just take money away. And it's not even
It actually did take money away for a little bit. It was really hard to convince her at a particular point whenever we had Samantha was working a full-time job, like 80 hours a week, supporting me as a stay-at-home father, homeschooling kids, and trying to start off the mushroom business while doing our garden and everything else. And so it was a very stressful time. It felt like we were strangers passing each other at night half the time.
It did.
So.
It was really hard. It was very difficult.
Oh, hey, we got a super chat. See how this says, if you wanted to grow mushrooms mostly to make mushroom burgers, what strain would be the most edible or profitable?
King oysters.
King oysters. That's going to be your best one, hands down. Thank you for the super chat, man. Man, that makes me feel good that you guys love us enough to just give us money to answer questions.
One of our chefs, he takes them and he shreds them and makes them into barbecue burgers.
Oh awesome. My gosh.
They are so good.
That's Ollie B. So if anybody's in the Knoxville area, go to Ollie B for breakfast. And tell him that we sent you, by the way, just so he knows that there's love coming from us. But oh my gosh, Jeff at Ollie B is one of my favorite chefs of all time.
I will say that kings are hard to grow. They love cold temperatures. Yeah. About the only time we can manage them is in the wintertime. And they take longer. So
yeah.
It's
see, oh my gosh, we're getting way behind. We better speed up. Okay. Indri says, can you take a video of your AC system and post it? Check out I'm glad that's over with, or something like that. It's our it's a summer update grow video, and I actually talk about how we had to buy 3 window units and to supplement the household AC. Daniel Mallet says 90% mushroom. I'm sorry. Yep, I'm telling you, man, got to be 90% mushroom. You should dehydrate them and sell us some mushroom mead kits. I've thought about that, and I don't have a commercial kitchen license. We have dogs, and so we can't get that until we get another building.
No, the dogs are upstairs.
They are upstairs. They're not in the mushroom op.
But
it's one of those things. But
and I think here in Tennessee, to get a commercial kitchen license, it has to be separated from your house.
It has to be separated. Well,
it's the cottage license.
You're right. You're right. So I will tell you guys though that we've may or may not have started working on looking for warehouse space. So, maybe you guys you'll see that growing there coming up soon. What's up? Coming at you from Arkansas. Hey, Arkansas. Another Southern boy with us. We can't have too many of us Southern boys around. Have you ever grown in exotics or unique ones? Any cool exotics or unique ones? Grant, I'm not sure what you're asking. Do you mean exotic like illicit? Or are you meaning exotic as in like just strange mushrooms? Because I'll tell you, I'm working on a milky mushroom trial right now, which is like that big white mushroom that comes out of India. A black poplar. It's one of my favorite mushrooms. So that's what you mean by exotics. Yeah, I try to grow weird stuff all the time. In fact, Samantha and Ben have to like, Andrew, one weird thing at a time. Don't fill the whole grow room with stuff that's not going to make money. You got to make money. So they keep me going. Kathy. Hey, Kathy. Welcome back. You found the mushrooms growing from LC to be as healthy as those grown from agar. Yes, though I don't think that you can do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I think eventually we'll get enzyme blindness that way. So I do like to come back from culture slants to agar, from agar to liquid culture. Yep, switch it up.
It's just like if you were to eat apple pie for 6 months straight, you wouldn't be very happy either.
That's right. See, Grant Pickens said money is a man's makeup. Yeah, it is, right? That's what makes us pretty. Oh, wow, another super chat. Lloyd Simmons says, just want to support you all for all the info. Thanks. Lloyd, thank you. Guys, thank you so much. You guys you're killing me, flooring me with just how generous you guys are. Our River Mushroom says, shiitake all the way. A mix would work best, I think. If you're talking about for the,
Did we skip one? Or was there?
Where? There was money. Yeah.
Sorry.
I love shiitake mushrooms eating. I hate growing them for money. They are a trap unless you're a tier 2 mushroom farm. If you don't know the tier 2 mushroom farm system or the tier mushroom farm system, check out Ben's got a couple blog posts. So mine's working backwards. This is my first blog post on the series. Then you have Hard Truths by Ben Erickson. And then the next blog post, he's got 2 more from there that are Mycological Warfare Part 1 and Part 2. One's Charting the Battlefield and one's Knowing Your Enemy. And then we're working on more in that series. Oh, shoot. We got another super chat. Grant Pickens, thank you.
Aww.
Thank you guys very much. We really appreciate you guys supporting us. It's kind of crazy to know that I'm that valuable.
Really, what it comes down to is it incentivizes us to do this for 2 to 3 hours straight.
That's true. The more you pay me, the longer I'll do this.
Although we do have other things we do need to get to.
Quiet, woman. I'm making money. I'm putting on my makeup. I'm sorry. Stop
that.
I didn't know Super Chat was a thing. Oh, yeah, Daniel, it's cool. I didn't know it either until Robin told me about it. And then Robin's like, you should do live streams and then just enable the Super Chat. And I was like, I'm not going to make any money off of it. And here we are. We're making a little bit off of it. I mean, it's definitely incentivizing me to want to do these things. And I plan on doing these things going forward like every Sunday.
And to not make it sound like we're just greedy people.
I'm a greedy person.
And this is something that is very relevant, is the fact that whenever you get into mushroom growing and you start putting in that time and effort, you very quickly realize that you end up having more things to do than you have time to do them. And so you sort of have to prioritize what will pay the bills and what will make money that you can invest to shorten the amount of time that you have to put into things. And so you start to...
Yeah, we had a lot of grand delusions, I felt like, early on.
Yes, we did.
Where we failed flat on our faces. I mean...
Yep.
I mean, there have been times where, you know, we just straight up fail all the time. And it's failing forward for a reason. I mean, we're here at the point we are now, doing well now because of all those failures, but not for the reasons you might think so. Like, we did a Kickstarter once that we made double what our goal was and failed completely to deliver on anything on it. And we went almost bankrupt because we didn't understand the business well enough. So it was almost like we had it's almost like, you know, these people who go and get $500,000 loans and start a mushroom farm and have never grown mushrooms before. Oh my gosh, you guys scare me to death. Like, that is insanity. Hey, AZ. That's insanity to me because I was given like what, $2,000 or $3,000 out of a Kickstarter and I failed flat on my face. I didn't have enough to ship rewards. I didn't have enough. Like, I ended up talking to people about how we were having a hard time, and a lot of people were just like, forget it. We're happy to help you guys do that kind of stuff. But you guys got it's difficult to do for sure. So I don't remember how I got on that subject. Let's see. See how this says you've done more than those with popular classes. I appreciate that. I don't know that that's true. Paul Stamets he does classes. They're expensive, but that man has changed the industry for the better. There's a lot of Rocky River. I'll get to your comment here in just a second. As far as popular classes go, Paul Stamets is probably the most popular mushroom grower that I can think of. And he gets a lot of hate in the industry, and I'm not entirely sure why. I think it's because he promises a lot of things, but mushrooms have a lot of promise, especially before we knew as much as we know now. I mean, you got to think in the last 10 years, we know more about mushrooms than we knew probably in the past 100. But he had all these promises that he gave people. Like, what got me on mushrooms in the first place was 6 ways mushrooms can help save the world. And then from there, I found out mushrooms aren't going to save the world. At least they're not the magic bullet that I thought that they were. And I had a little bit of like down in the dumpsness, right, about like Paul Stamets. But here's the thing. I think the guy has done so much for the mushroom community that I know I'm trying not to get the head on him. If I can see you chuckling.
Mushrooms just strange.
Right? But he changed the industry. He brought mushrooms to the masses. So, mushrooms are the end-all be-all, and Paul Stamets are their prophet, kind of thing.
And that sort of comes back to the whole idea of struggling with your own success when you're talking about the Kickstarter and everything else. Is you end up getting a response where the popular class is getting more than what you're capable of handling in the moment. And so
Yeah.
it's
I started trying to teach. I started trying to do kits and all kinds of things too much too fast. And what I should have done was what we ended up doing, which was destroying the whole business over 3 or 4 times and reiterating until we found what really made money, what really we could dive into, what gave us a better life, and what made it easier for me to teach. So that's what ended up being the best thing for us, was just pulling back. And so struggling with your own success is a big thing for sure. Don't do too much too fast. Really just grease that groove, guys. Get what's going on. Blair Davison, thanks for the quick turnaround on the LCs. So far, they've all grown and super strong. Thanks for the great service. Hey, yeah, thank you. Like, the liquid culture has changed the game for me on getting orders out in time. So I love that. I'm glad that it's helped. Hey, if you don't mind, please go to my Google business page, leave me a positive review. I would really appreciate that. Let's see. Evan Nichols said, with those King Blues, is the flavor similar to that of standard Kings? Yes and no. It's sweet. They have a different smell to them. When picking them, I don't actually like the smell. They kind of remind me of Bradford pears. But the flavor is kind of like sweet, savory flavor. You know how oyster mushrooms often have like an anise, like a real sweet kind of flavor? To me, the King Blues are kind of sweet, savory. As opposed to like the N&G oyster that we sell, the Nana and Gramps oyster. That one is it's more savory. Like it's not even really sweet. Like even the spawn, when you bust up that spawn, it doesn't smell sweet. It smells savory.
That's what I'm thinking too. It's kind of a texture difference.
Yeah.
Which affects the flavor because with Kings they're really how do you say that? They're really meaty and they're really
the King Blues.
Well, it says standard Kings.
I'm sorry. I was talking about oysters. Yeah, the standard Kings. You go ahead.
King Blues is the flavor similar to that of standard Kings, and what I was trying to say is that the Kings are really meaty. They don't squish as much. I'm really great at this, guys.
So the Kings are meatier. They're firmer. They tend to be sweeter, like an oyster mushroom is.
And I will say that whenever you cook the Kings, they don't seem to absorb as much because they have a kind of a higher integrity as far as anyway. And then the King Blues are softer and kind of squishier. Let's do a video on that.
Okay.
The difference between them. They're softer and squishier, and because of that, I feel like they absorb more as far as seasonings or flavorings or oils or butter or anything else that you put in the pan, and so I feel like it changes the flavor of those as well. So, if that makes sense, I hope that helps.
I think it does. I hope you guys get that warehouse. Thank you. So we don't have one narrowed down yet. We're just looking around for space. Jefferson County is like the fastest growing county in Tennessee. No, it's the second fastest growing. But I think the first fastest is like Nashville or Memphis. And so Jefferson County is the second fastest growing, but not the biggest. It's like it used to, when I was growing up, I mean, it was a small town. There was nothing in this town. And now there's like businesses everywhere. There's houses right up against houses. I've gone from like living in the country to living in the suburbs. And I grew up in a neighborhood, but it was a cul-de-sac neighborhood. There was nobody that lived next to us. We had a big
surrounded by farms.
Farms and fields.
Fields with horses and fields.
Now, like, you used to be able to buy an acre of land here for like a few $100, maybe $2,000. And now, if it's really good land, now it's like an acre of land. $10,000 is the cheapest I've found. But like, if you're wanting a decent lot, it's like $30,000. So, it's expensive to get land. But warehouse space I think is getting cheaper. So I'm hoping that really works out. Hey, Fresh from the Farm. What's up, man? I just got done watching one of your videos earlier this morning. Much love to you too.
We've also had some big guys say, if I could do it all over again, I would stay small as long as I can.
Yeah. So that's something that's important, I think. May I?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that I know a lot of guys are moving to warehouses fast, and then it's hard for them to make the next step because they don't have a velocity behind them. We have purposely stayed in this basement for as long as possible to keep our costs down. And so we soak up as much profit as possible, which allows us to save up money, buy investments, do whatever, which I think is in the long run going to give us, like, you've got people who went out and bought warehouse space fast. Many of the YouTubers that are on here now. And I feel like the position that we're in, we're soaking up all that profit. We'll be able to just right past, especially as we've focused on things that are exportable more so than what a lot of other people have. Like we can ship stuff from Alaska to Hawaii to Florida to Maine to Canada.
Well, staying small helps soften the blows of your mistakes. And so that's one of the reasons why. So to kind of go back to significant others and convincing them, staying small for as long as we have has really helped me sort of become comfortable. We didn't grow too big too fast, and that's helped me.
Mm.
Plus, for those of you who are interested in the way that I do our accounting or organize our accounting or kind of prepare everything and do the charts that help me see where we're projected. Right now I'm doing a 2018-2019 comparison, and then I'm trying to project for 2020. Yeah. And that's really helping me to see where we can go and the potentials. And it also breaks down everything where we're making good sales.
Detail-oriented.
Yeah.
Not detail-oriented.
Where we're making the sales, what's worth the effort, what's not, what's flopping, and it just helps project. And that really gives me a lot of comfort.
So I really fought for a long time. Samantha came up with all these charts and these things I got to fill out. And now whenever I do work, I have to sit there and spend so much time doing paperwork. And paperwork's my least favorite thing. That's why I didn't go to school to learn to grow mushrooms and, all this stuff. And I fought it forever. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, I need to know something. And I just pull up on the clipboard and I look at the paper and I'm like, oh my gosh, I know this information there. Oh my goodness, who knew this was so cool? So I'm sold on it. Rocky River Mushrooms said, don't grow shiitake unless you're T.R. Davis. I would suggest that TR would probably even make more money if he just grew oysters and focused on selling straight to restaurants. But I love TR. He and I are not always, like, sometimes we lock horns a couple times. We lock horns a couple times on the internet sometimes, like on Facebook. We're in the same trade group. But I've been to TR's place. You won't meet a guy who's got like a bigger heart than TR. He is really a sweet guy. Though he's kind of coarse on the outside. So, and he doesn't like us basement dwellers. No, TR is a good guy. You guys should go support Earth Angel Mushrooms for sure. And he's got some blocks that are coming out of Brazil now that are supposed to be really good production blocks. So
he's gonna show up and
give me hell.
Ah!
Whatever. It's not when it was the first 30 seconds that you're worried about. Don't let it go to your head. Oh, thanks, Grant. I appreciate that. Oh my gosh. Okay, guys, I'm gonna just rapid fire through some of the. Oh, okay. I'm not as far behind as I thought. The more I learn about mushrooms, the more I want to know. Oh. Why'd you retract that message? The more I learn about mushrooms, the more I want to know. Every question answered brings up 2 new questions. I know, man, it's crazy. You'll never be done with it. I've been in this 10 years, 12 years, something like that. 2008, it's 2020, 12. Oh my gosh, I've been growing mushrooms for 12 years. That's almost as long as I've been married to you.
Uh-huh.
How long have we been married?
Almost.
We got married in 2005. Yeah.
You're right.
Okay. It's nice to actually have you answer questions. I watch vids all the time, but there's so often some questions no one ever touches. Yeah, that's actually something I was thinking about. This gives me a chance to know to laser in on those questions with you guys. Truth be told, I make videos more for me than anyone else. I do what I'm interested in. Robin is the one that looks out for you guys. She finds out all the questions you guys are answering. She has a list of videos, and she'll come and she'll be like, "All right, Andrew, we need to do videos on this and this and this." I'm like, okay, we'll do videos on this.
More effective for sure.
She does.
The whole crew. I'm like, we're
getting a talent pool that just blows my mind away.
I'm really thankful for the help, because there for a while it was just Andrew and I, and then it was just
with Ben being able to help out occasionally, like very, very occasionally.
Yeah, it's freed us up to do this stuff, and plus answering it as it's coming up on the screen and being able to verbally respond with both of us here is so fast compared to just sitting down and then typing it all out. And so It's really nice.
Let's see. I've got access to an unlimited supply of alder, can be used in lieu of other hardwoods. So, i.e. lion's mane, or else, what would be the best candidates to grow on, say, alder chips or sawdust? Growing gourmet and medicinal mushrooms. He talks a lot about alder growing. I think it's actually a superior wood to grow one, if I remember correctly, but I could be wrong. If you can pick up that book, check it out. Alder's supposed to be, I think a lot of people out west grow on alder. Or is that? cottonwood. I think it's alder. Anyways, as far as I know, it can be used pretty interchangeably. If it's raw sawdust, free is not free, man. Just remember that. Whatever you get for free, you're going to pay with in your labor or something like that, else like that. Now, if you have like a big mixer, or if you've got some way to handle that, some infrastructure, I will turn it off then, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at earlier. And
That's my bad. I was trying to change it, and I thought that I had it quiet enough. So, let's see. Warehouses benefit a great deal from lean manufacturing practices. I'm currently working with my employer to implement the lean method of working. When you've time searched, I'm familiar with Tim Wood. Yeah. And The Lean Farm was a book that I read that introduced me to the concept of lean manufacturing. Ben works in manufacturing. And Samantha works.
We've got some production experience, but yeah, that's
yeah. I used to decorate cakes on an assembly line. Yeah, I just remember my little rosebud.
Have the prettiest roses. But that's actually, that exact concept is how we are able to do so much in such a little space.
Yeah.
And it's basement dwelling it's nothing whenever you have those lean manufacturing practices. It's awesome.
For sure. Let's see. Daniel Mallet says, I've been doing a little growing for fun here and there for about 15. What?
It's become a thing.
But it's like I grew out this block I did make myself, but then I had to move. Everything gets packed and I forget about it. Daniel, you're going to have to clarify a little bit. I'm not sure what you're trying to say there. And then George just said, your magnetic stir sounds like a ringing bell over audio. That's why I cut that off. And then Miser says,
the difference between the big stir bars and the little
he wishes he'd done this at the start. Yeah, right. Let's see, fresh from the farm fungi. Gary, is that you? What is your top 2 favorite books for mushroom growing, or are you talking books in general? Because I'll talk to you all day long about either one.
That's very true. We have a small library upstairs. It's
small.
Intense.
Yeah, I've got more books than I probably should. Yeah. It'd be hard to move next time I have to move. Grant Pickett said,
that's also
Gary,
a deduction, by the way.
Or while you fresh from the farm fungi, while you answer that, I will go ahead and answer Grant's, and I'll come back to you. Basement troglodyte advocacy, yes, for sure. And yeah, man, I people have tried to convince me to move out of the basement for a very long time, and I'm going to, but I didn't want to move into a warehouse on an income where I had to do everything myself. Something Ben has said, so that Ben has done 2 things for this company that have been better than anything else ever. Number 1 was in our old lab, installing internet to where it could reach into the old lab, back where it was in the basement corner, and installing speakers, right? So that's the first thing. Giving me the ability to watch TV while doing lab work or listening to music, because Andrew likes noise. And when Andrew's not comfortable, Andrew doesn't like to work. So I do. I live in a very noisy household. I like the hive. I love just stuff going on around me. And then the second thing Ben ever did was convince me it was time to hire people to do the day-to-day and just let me focus on different aspects of the business, big picture stuff, basically. And that has been the 2 best things I think that's ever happened. Beyond that, staying in the basement is probably one of the best things that decisions we've ever made for a long time. Just keeping our costs down. Yeah, Gary. Okay, I knew that had to be you, man. It looks like your logo. So, looking for good reads. Okay, I like science fiction. So, if you're a sci-fi guy, my 2, I'm not going to give you 2 books by the same writer. So, Fire Upon the Deep by Werner Vinge is one of my all-time favorites. It is a great love story and chase. Like, they are being chased the whole time. And Vinge has a way of getting you into an alien's head without realizing you're in an alien's head. That said, my other book that's actually my favorite, but I don't think is as good for the first read, is A Deepness in the Sky. That is actually my favorite book by Werner Vinge, but I think it's better to read Fire Upon the Deep first.
And I really liked it, and I really enjoyed it, and it has a lot of good points that relate to business, believe it or not. And
well, it's about these people called the Chang Ho, especially a Deepness in the Sky. And Fire Upon the Deep is about a single Chang Ho member, and they're a space trading civilization.
And business and trade culture.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify. That's why it had that in it. So,
Sawdust.
yeah, it looked like sawdust. We find sawdust everywhere, constantly. When it was straw, we haven't used straw in years, and I swear I found straw in one of my jacket pockets the other day. I used to find it everywhere, in every nook and cranny. It was not comfortable. Straw sucks. So, Gary, going back to your question, another book I love, Dune. Dune is one of the old classics. It's one of my favorites. I love any of Isaac Asimov's, but particularly the iRobot series. Most of my friends seem like they liked the Foundation series better. I read part of it, but not the full thing.
I really like articles.
Articles?
I just like articles.
Samantha just goes and reads articles.
And that's not a book, but it's really neat to just go on and read the articles are shorter, and I have more time for shorter spurts. And I know you can read a chapter at a time, but I just like having that many articles to read. You have that many more perspectives, and I just really enjoy the different perspectives and the different. Yeah. I don't know. I just really like that. Maybe we can post some of those too.
Maybe. I think that's a good idea. We should actually have a recommended read section on our website. One of my favorite blogs to read then is Ribbon Farm. I don't remember if it's ribbonfarm.org, net, or com, but Ribbon Farm is written by a guy named Venkatesh Rao. If you just go on Google and look up, what is it? It's not Barbarians Rising. Barbarians. Maybe if you look up Veblen's Fork, VEBLEN''S, Veblen's Fork. Anyways, he talks about the difference between higher barbarians, lower barbarians, civilized people, and the forager societies. And he kind of goes into the rise of the new higher barbarian, basically. I really like that. He's got another series called the Gervais Principle. I really like that. So as far as articles go, real quick, Gary, and I'll get back to it. AJ Gonzalez said, thanks for the super chat, man. I appreciate it. If you want to ask a question and get it bumped, just let me know. Gary, as far as like business books, the E-Myth, The Entrepreneur's Dilemma, Lean Farm, and can't remember it. I can't remember it. I'll come back to it if I can. I hope that answers it. Seawolves. Seawolves is a great historical book. It's written about the Vikings. I really enjoyed it. And the Normans. And I can't remember the author's name, but I like the Normans. I apparently have a lot of Norman ancestry. And it was really cool to kind of hear about how they started off, as Vikings, and then came down and settled Normandy because the French gave them that land to protect them from other Vikings. And then they worked their way into French royalty, but they're relatively poor. So they then go on crusades down into Italy, Sicily, and then on into like Antioch and etc. So
you can take these books off of your taxes. It's a tax deduction to take books that are related to your farm. You can't just buy any book, but if it's related to what you're doing and it helps you achieve greater success and it relates to your farming, you can totally take you can take one purchase amount off, or you can deduct it over time through devaluation.
Absolutely. Milton's Mushroom House says, if I was to produce one quantity of mushroom to start taking to chefs, what would you suggest? I'm trying to do a lot at once, but Spawn obviously doesn't always cooperate. When you say one quantity, do you mean like a certain set amount to take to a chef? We take a full box, roughly 10 pounds. If you mean mushroom varieties, it's better to lean in and get one type down first, I think.
And it's a 1 case minimum for us.
Yeah. We don't do half cases, 5 pounds.
One of the greatest complaints from the chefs was that a lot of mushroom farmers that they dealt with were not consistent. And our goal was that to achieve that consistency, minimally, they had to order a case, and that was it.
Yep.
So,
keep it simple. Like, we have 1 unit of sales to chefs, and we don't deviate from that unit. Now, we sell mixed oysters. So if it helps you, like I grow a ton of different mushrooms. And really what that does is, if we explain to the chefs, we sell mixed oysters and then specialties. And what that allows us to do is, if, like you're saying, spawn obviously doesn't always cooperate, then that allows us to fill their order with another type of oyster. And we do take, like, if they say, I want a certain type of mushroom, we say, okay, we take that into account. We can't promise it every week, but we will try.
I have notes on all
Samantha's got the refrigerator completely covered in notes about.
I have what
so
they like,
people
what they
can
don't
see.
like, what they'll accept. I have, during certain times of years. I've also tracked what they buy at what time of year and how much they buy at one time of year. When they go down to the minimum and whenever they rise up, and that helps me sort of.
Samantha's a data collector.
Yeah, I do like data. I like analytics. It's
quite the observer.
It reveals all the secrets.
Let's see. Oh my gosh, it jumped down. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. We'll speed this up real quick. I know we're going into in-depth. So you guys are still live. Yes, Juan, we are. I will do this as long as the super chats keep coming in. No, I'm just playing. I'm a little mercenary. I'm Viking. I've got to be mercenary. I'll do this until I'm hungry. How about that? Sorry, my phone hates me. No worries, Daniel. I understand, man. I've got big sausage thumbs. My phone hates me too.
What he won't tell you is that he'll do it because he enjoys talking to you guys.
You be quiet. I am a greedy person, and I'm a terrible person, and I don't like talking to people.
Get back to work.
Okay. I picked up Radical Mycology, and that book is stacked. It is easily the most in-depth beginner book. Yeah. It is stacked. I love that book so much. Peter has got it dialed in.
And from a design perspective, that cover is gorgeous.
It's beautiful. Stylized, fun. It's really just nice. Samantha and I have been talking about doing murals all in the downstairs and having that very fungal insectoid type of imagery everywhere.
My face is itchy.
Why is your face itchy?
I don't know.
Maybe from your makeup.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. No. Hi from Iceland. Hello, Iceland, land of the gods. Welcome up. How do I say that? Is that Andre or Andrej or on? How do I say that? Can you spell it out phonetically? AJ Gonzalez, just wanted to say thank you for all the videos you've put up. Especially liked how realistic and honest you were about your growth in the beginning as working as spouses and partners. Thank you, AJ, for traveling along with us and building this business and channel with us. That's something that's been important to us, I think, from the very beginning. It's just being real, being authentic, who we are.
Because not being who you are is just really too difficult to keep up for any amount.
It really, there are people who can wear that mask all day, and I just can't. I get tired, and I get blown out, and I have to wear my failures on my sleeves, or just get exhausted trying to hide them. So it's easier just to live with my failures than it is without. Salting Cracker says Thor and Mousetrap. Did I miss something? Another section of that question from you? Thor, Mousetrap, what? I am Miser. It looks like your message was retracted, man. Sorry, I can't see what it was. Daniel says, basically, I've grown on and off for 15 years, on and off, and it's amazing how things have changed even in that short time. Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh, man. Just in the past year, things have changed. Instagram. I was on Instagram this morning. I just followed a whole bunch of farms, and if you guys have an Instagram and you know that Myco Miner is that's my Instagram name is Myco Miner. I came up with that years ago. I've always loved the idea ever since I read about heavy metal accumulation of mushrooms, of finding a way to mine with mushrooms, right? Even then, I feel like I'm going downstairs into the mine, and my grow room is my gem mine, right? I'm a dwarf. Laura, one of our employees, calls us dwarves because we grow underground. We live underground. We have all this tech. But yeah, man, things have changed like crazy. AJ says, +1 for sci-fi. Big Larry Niven fan. Oh, that's the Ring World. Yeah, I've not actually read that much. I am Miser. Your messages are retracted. Are you doing that on purpose, or is YouTube doing something? Ciotha says, can you simplify the term mother versus generations? Example, I buy a kit, clone the oysters. What gen are those? Technically, anytime you go from mushrooms would be Gen 1 according to your op. That said, Paul Stamets' P system or the G generational system doesn't have, it's not a clean delineator. It's basically, if I have like this right here is my culture slant. This would be first generation, let's say. This would be the oldest, freshest culture I have. The one that's sorry guys. The one that is as close to the original as I can get. If I take from this, we could call it G1, or you could call it G2. I call this G1. A plate would be G2. Grain master would be G3. And then grain spawn would get going on from that. But you have G1 grain spawn, which is generation grain spawn. It means that's the master, the grain master. Then you have G2 grain spawn, which would be everything that was inoculated by the master. And then everything that was inoculated by the G2 would be G3, and so on until you go down. It's not cleanly delineated. There's no standards in this industry. Not yet. Very few standards. And there should be more standards.
That's something that I was going to say, depending on who you talk to and how much they are involved in the process. I've had some people or talked to some people where they ordered in a grain spawn bag, and then they'll divide it and call that generation 2.
Yeah.
And then they'll divide it again and call that G3. And then it just, I don't know.
Yeah. Saltine says, I've always been infatuated with planetary books or space travel sci-fi. Me too. Hey, Saltine, have you seen Prospect? It's a low-budget sci-fi film. I say low budget. It's beautiful. It has Pedro. I can't remember his last name all of a sudden. He's in some bigger stuff now, but I think Prospect was kind of like one of his break-ins. It's one of those old classic feeling sci-fis. One of my favorites. My kids and I watched it. We really loved it. Sorry, my Marine came out for a moment. I should just say boot camp. Have you had any experience with Cordyceps militaris? Not really. Juan, you missed that a little bit earlier. I don't have a lot of experience with it. Terrestrial fungi, mushroom revival, and apex mushrooms or apex growing. Those are the 3 I would suggest going to for anything Cordyceps. Recommend any good mushroom farming for beginners books. Radical Mycology by Peter McCoy is probably my favorite one to go for.
Peter McKinnon?
Yeah, Peter McKinnon's one of my favorite YouTubers, but yeah, for sure. Fresh from the farm fungi, Gary says, cool, thanks for all the suggestions. Keep rocking it. Yeah, man, you too. Dude, your content has been very informative. I really appreciate some of this. You've filled some of the holes and the gaps in my knowledge base just on your own YouTube channel. So I appreciate you guys.
That's what's so fun about this is having everyone
making each other better.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Hello from Washington. Is that DC or Washington State? Great info you put out there. I look forward to seeing new ones. Can you explain generations and how it relates to LCs? So again, the generational system it's just a made up system. People just picked it. I think it has to do more with trying to go back as close as you can to the original one. Mushrooms don't age the way we do. They don't have telomeres that shorten every time they replicate their DNA. So with that, generation is not really a correct response. Not to mention that if I grow in liquid culture, I'm getting more replications of that DNA than I would across a dish. So the way I would really look at it, the way I prefer to look at it is Sydney Over-Singleton's actually the one that taught me about enzyme blindness, which is basically mushroom diabetes. That's the real way they age. You feed mushrooms nothing but sugar, they eventually lose the ability to produce sugars out of the lignous containing substrates. And I'm a little fuzzy when it comes to the chemistry behind it all.
Sorry.
Oh,
I was thinking.
Samantha likes to get ideas. So I hope that helps, man. It's just don't feed it sugar all the time. Change it up a little bit, and your mushrooms won't age really.
Maybe do like A1, A2, A3, like agar 1, 2, and 3, and do G whenever you hit grain.
I don't know. Since you're the person that likes organizing things, you should organize something for me. And I'll influence the whole thing. Are sample boxes worth the effort? Yes. Oh my gosh, sample boxes are the way we make money. So that's the way we get new chefs. Walk in with a full case, say this is what you would get for $80 a week. You'll get this every single week. You won't have to hardly talk to me. You won't have to hardly see me. I'll come in and hand you some of the most beautiful mushrooms you've ever seen. They'll look just like this. And you'll write me a check and I'll be out of your hair and you'll have beautiful mushies. So
Well, that's something we just had someone reach out to us on Instagram. That's a local chef, and the first response that I had was, "Would Friday or Tuesday be better for you for a sample drop off?"
Yep.
And it wasn't. I didn't talk price. I didn't talk the way we do things. I just, first point of contact is sample. Here's what we have.
Let them see those mushrooms and why your mushrooms are different, and they won't care about the price.
Because they're used to people coming in selling themselves, and it gets old.
Yeah, they don't care. They care. They're not out there to be your friend. They're out there to do a job just like you are.
Their time is precious, and your time is precious.
Right. And so give them beautiful mushrooms and get out of their hair.
And it's like you go into a restaurant and a chef says, "Well, I can cook this, this, and this, and this tastes like this, and it's the greatest ever." And really what you want is you want that food in front of you, and you want to take that first bite, and that be your first impression. That be your first example of what this chef is capable of. And that's what you want to do in response. You want to show them that same courtesy.
Absolutely. I mean, like I've said on the last live stream, but I'll go into it real quick. I go in with a box, and I will hopefully have my cards stapled. We haven't made cards in a while because we don't do farmers markets. We don't really have a need for cards, but I think we've got a few left. Staple your card to the top of the cardboard box. Walk in, say, "May I speak to the person in charge of purchasing produce?" They'll either say yes or no. You either can give that box to the person who's in charge of purchasing produce or some of the front-end managers or something like that, and just say, "Hey, I know your time's precious. Here's a box of mushrooms. We're a mushroom farm. We're looking for more clientele. I'm going to get out of your hair. Please, just give me a call. My number's right there if you like what you see." And I walk out, and oftentimes they either call me right back right then or call me while I'm still out in the parking lot and have me come back. I haven't done that in a while, guys. Samantha does most of the deliveries and driving now. So
I also had some people ask if we knew, and some people would take this as insulting, but I don't. If we knew any other mushroom farmers in the area that they could buy from.
Yep.
And my first response is not stepping up and going, "Oh crap, let me think," of being in this scarcity mindset of, "No, you can't buy from anyone but me." No, it's no, there's this person and this person and this person. And just check them out, see what you like. Here's a sample of our mushrooms. And
the more we have
9 times out of 10, our quality has won over. And that's what you want. You want to prove the quality. You don't want to.
Yeah. The more we've spread the love around, the more it's been returned to us, which is, we used to think we had the secret to growing mushrooms and we can't share it. And that was probably the worst our business had ever been. The more we got out there and shared, knowledge and everything, I'll be honest, it's more about in your execution than it is in whatever knowledge you have. So that was
sort of coming into the industry, and that sort of, we talked about whenever we first started, just how secretive everyone was.
It's hard to break into it.
It's very difficult, and it's sort of, it was hard not to take on that kind of mentality. But also, like,
way behind.
When we quit market, we had hate mail, we had a lot of people.
Yeah. People did not like when we quit.
But here's the thing is, and we were the only ones left, and so it just seemed really anti-intuitive for us to stop. But we tried to get everyone, all the other farmers, we tried to get them to grow mushrooms so that at least the public would be taken care of, and that was...
Oh my gosh, yeah, we're way behind. All right, yep. Started an official farm in January. We have great sources for hardwood and straw. Good. Go with the hardwood. Straw sucks. What's it take to be a farm tax-wise? I don't know. We're not a farm tax-wise. Like, we don't have the tax-free, like the tax card where we can go get tax-free stuff. Samantha's working on that. So I'm hoping once we get that figured out, we'll let you guys know. We got to answer all of these. And since we don't really know. Okay.
I will remember.
She'll remember.
Worry.
AJ says, the only thing we are having trouble with is finding a good soy hull source. Any suggestions? So if you can't find soy, you're in upstate New York. That's actually a common thing in the Northeast. Alfalfa pellets. You should be able to find alfalfa pellets and do something like a 16% supplementation rate. Samantha's going to go get that thing figured out for you for the tax-free stuff or the farm tax. George Vide says, Moon is a harsh mistress. Robert A. Heinlein. Oh, yes, Heinlein. Anything by Heinlein. Starship Troopers is one of my favorite books ever. So a lot of people really misunderstand that book. It's about as free a society as you can get. Everybody thinks it's about a fascist society. It's not. It's about it's basically a libertarian society. The mushroom explorers are eating our makeup. That could be. There is no terrible person who grows mushrooms. I mean, I haven't met one. So as far as I can tell, Grant Pickens, your message was retracted. So I hope that was on purpose. I'm not a huge sci-fi fan, but I do like Terry Goodkind. Is that fantasy? Mainly fantasy books? I think I know what you're talking about. And I did read a lot of fantasy growing up when I was in high school. But I kind of got out of the fantasy kick, and I mean, I do like The Witcher. I like a lot of sci-fi, fantasy, TV shows. Hardwood pellets are less prevalent in Pacific Northwest. Douglas fir are very available and super cost-effective. I heard people can grow on it. Thoughts? Yes, Rob. Lots of people grow on the Douglas fir. I don't know if the supplementation rates are the same. I think they are, but I think that a lot of people are even having faster growth rates on the Douglas fir. Douglas fir is not easy to find where I'm at. So hardwood fuel pellets are also very difficult to obtain in the UK unless you buy in bulk. Yeah, my understanding is that most of the European supply of hardwood fuel pellets came from the United States. And I think there was something to do where we ended up stopped exporting to Europe so much. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Bulk sawdust would be the way to go. Straw, there are going to be other things that you can use. Daniel Mallett says, I see a lot of Norse mythology stuff surrounding you. Not to get into politics or religion, but you following the old ways. Please, dear dog, tell me you're not a white supremacist. I'm definitely not a white supremacist. I am also not fully pagan. I don't know how you would say it. I love the imagery. I love a lot of the old ways. I love reading about it, researching it. I love living a life that is intentional and is very community-based. I do harken back to my ancestors, and that, I think that's a beautiful thing. But no, I'm not a white supremacist. My grandfather broke that cycle in my family. So to give you an example, Daniel, my grandfather was in the Air Force back in the 1950s. Yeah, 1950s. So he was in the Air Force in the 1950s. He was a cadet captain, and while he was in training, he was also training other people. So he was in a rank where he was training people below him, and he was being trained, and one of his instructors was a Tuskegee Airman. My grandfather was racist, not in an overt way. I mean, he grew up in East Tennessee in a time when he lived on a dirt road and pooped in a hole in the ground. So that being as it was, I think the first person he ever saw that was a person of any color was when he went to South Carolina to visit some family. So, he was racist in the fact that he didn't even, I guess, really realize these people existed. I mean, East Tennessee, is not really a really racist place. It fought for the Union. But mainly it's settled by Scots-Irish people who just care about being left alone. So that's kind of what he was at. He met this guy who was a Tuskegee Airman, brave, fought for our country. He said that he just had the most beautiful smile he'd ever seen on a person. And he went to go on leave to go watch a movie. And he noticed that Tuskegee Airman who had flown, I don't even remember how many missions in defense of his country, had to sit in the back. And Gramps thought that was the most unfair thing he had ever seen. And that was the moment when he realized he wasn't racist like the rest of his, I shouldn't say the rest of his family, but, that kind of thing. So, no, my family is not white supremacist. Saltine Cracker says, Andrew and Samantha, thanks for hanging with us again. Had to run cook some dinner for the family. Looking forward to it. Hey, yeah, see you. I hope you're still here to see that, but go enjoy some dinner, man. I'm about to go eat some food myself because I'm getting hungry. Does the grow room exhaust air have an odor? And any marks around the outside area where it is lit out? Marks. I'm not sure what you mean by marks. An odor. Yeah, I mean, it smells like a grow room. It's got kind of a sweet oyster mushroom smell to it. It's not a very strong odor. I don't think my neighbors notice it. They probably notice the smell from the steamer, that cooked soy smell more than anything, which I used to hate that cooked soy smell. Now it just smells like money. What are the requirements of the incubation room? How long do the blocks stay in there? Helen, it's usually about 2 weeks that they stay in there. And I try to keep it about 70 degrees. Right about it's 70 to 75 degrees. I don't want it going over 75. Whenever anything goes over 75 in my incubation room, the blocks tend to cook themselves to death. So I try to keep it 75 and below. 75 is kind of my ideal because it's the fastest I can run my blocks out while not having them cook themselves to death. So I hope that helps. About 2 weeks was what they stay in there for most oysters. King oysters are about 3 to 4 weeks, and black poplars about 6 weeks. Comb tooth, bear's head, and lion's mane stay in the incubation room for 1 week. Do you use special humidity-resistant lights in the grow room? Could you talk lighting a little bit? Yeah, Lawrence. They're just T5 greenhouse fixtures. They say not to have in a wet room. Our fog is a dry fog by House of Hydro. Use code Mossy. And let John know that you got it. Got the idea from us. But the dry fog doesn't really condensate very much. It doesn't collect on the lights. So a combination of having greenhouse lights that are, they're not really water hardened or anything or water sealed, but they are, resistant. And then having that dry fog it's the way we work. I do my lighting for 16 hours on, 8 hours off, and it's T5 bulbs, 6,500 Kelvin. I hope that helps. AJ Gonzalez says, thank you so much, Shayman. You're very welcome. Thank you. Helen says, how do you preserve your generation 1 of a strain? Right here, culture slants. So I whenever I clone a mushroom on Petri dish, the moment that it's clean, I make 2 or 3 of these up. As soon as I see that white growth in there, like you're seeing right, there we go. That white growth right there, these are ready to go in the refrigerator. They'll go in Ziploc bags, they'll go in the refrigerator, and I'll try to do 1 or 2 of the slants here, and then 1 or 2 of the slants somewhere else, like, my parents' house or my buddy Hugh Brewer or someone who will let just those stay. So if my house burns down, my genetic library isn't destroyed. I might say it was my own doing due to the delay on my end. Gotta love. Oh, yeah, man. Absolutely gotta love the Highlands. I've always wanted to go visit. I want to go to Scotland so bad. And Scandinavia. Just basically all over Northwest Europe. Daniel says, I like the idea of following pagan philosophy without the religion. That's kind of where I am. Love you guys. Hey, man. Love you too. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not religious, but I'm not religious. I grew up in a very Christian, conservative home. I think that there is something out there. I don't know that it's an old man with a beard. I hate to be a cliche millennial, but, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I read the Bible regularly. I read the Have 'em All. I've read some Indian scriptures, not very much. I know a lot of people have read a lot more. I kind of read a lot of everything that I can, and I love those old heroic tales. I mean, the sagas are probably my favorite thing to read as far as the Norse stuff goes. Though, oh crap, what is his name? He wrote American Gods. He also wrote one called Norse Mythology, and that has been like a great retelling of the Norse stories. DC says, what species would you include in your sample box? I mean, if it's a mixed oyster strain or box, I'll put whatever we have currently growing in the grow room. So I don't make a box to make a sample box. I make up a box, and we try to put all of one strain in there, and then we just if we don't sell everything, we give out sample boxes, and we just pick randomly. As far as sample boxes go, a little tip: don't give them your best box. Don't give them your best looking box, guys. That's such a mistake people do all the time. Is they give, hey chef, here's the most perfect box of mushrooms you've ever seen. This is what you're gonna get from me every week. Wrong, because you're not going to give them the most perfect box every time. So don't give them your worst box either. Hey guys, look at these garbage mushrooms. Don't you want some of those? No, give them like your second best, third best, fourth best box. Give them something that's as accurate and average as possible. Trust me, your second, third, fourth best, whatever. If you're growing really good quality, if you're focusing on quality, growing low and slow and good quality, it's your second, third, fourth best is going to look better than the competition's. So, Week says, recommend anywhere to order some dried mushrooms to make that Forest Dwellers mead. Well, I mean, you can go to the grocery store and you use button mushrooms. I mean, or actually portobellos would probably taste really good in that mead. Garlic and portobellos would be fantastic. Dried mushrooms. I don't know who's growing and shipping dried mushrooms, honestly. I don't know if anybody knows any place he can get dried mushrooms and get some good stuff. Please put it in the chat. That's 6934 weeks. He's the one asking. So let's see. George says ANCAP's growing mush caps. Sorry, man. I'm not understanding what you're saying. Sorry. See how this says, what is a transplant? I.e., how do you keep mother culture still mother? Again, it's those slants, the culture slants. I would cut a little piece of tissue out of here. I talked about this on the last live chat. I have a Boston Edison reishi culture slant that has been unrefrigerated for over a year, and I've pulled from it 3 or 4 times. And that slant will last me for a very long time. And so just having that culture slant. So mycelium ages by, here is a hyphae, right? That's growing. And then there's another, it buds and grows another cell, and then another one and another one, right? Each one of those is a replication of the DNA. That's how they grow. They grow linearly. It's not the same as how we grow, right? But it's kind of the same where we grow skin cells. We shed old ones. Aislinn, you don't have to be quiet, honey. You're okay. You're fine. And we shed the old skin, and then we grow new ones. That's how we age. You might look at mushrooms as aging kind of like that, so the longer they grow. So if you've got a culture slant, it's not going to age as fast as it would if you grow it across dish after dish after dish after dish, or, in liquid culture or anything like that. So I hope that answers. How do you get fresh air into your grow room? So the way I get fresh air into my grow room is take old air out and then just allow fresh air to flow in. So whenever you create that lower pressure by taking away air, the gas, just fills the container that it's in. So the world is just covered in a gas that's called, air. It's nitrogen, CO2, oxygen, etc. That just flows in to fill the space. So just pull air out, air flows in. As far as combating CO2, just increase the amount of air you're pulling out. You'll increase the amount of fresh oxygen you're bringing in. Neil Gaiman, thank you, AJ. Yeah, Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology is a fantastic read. My kids love that one. Rob Lynn says, Washington State versus D.C. I have an idea to reclaim the spent block cost. I have a pellet mill and was thinking of letting blocks dry to 15 to 20%, repelletize them for burning and sterilization boiler. So that's interesting. Let me know how that goes. I have tried to burn mycelium and make like biochar and stuff, and that stuff is hard to burn. Now, you've given me an idea here, which is take those spent blocks, pelletize them, and then sell them to secondary and tertiary species growers. So grow oyster mushrooms. I think it's the way a lot of these people grow, where they grow oyster mushrooms on a substrate, kill it off, grow shiitake. Maybe that's next. I don't know. They'll grow something else that will grow afterwards. And then you can grow buttons on basically what is composted material afterwards. So if you can make pelletized composted material and sell that, or even just grow another mushroom on it, have at it. I think that's a great idea. Brian Williams says, have you ever tried to grow wine cap mushrooms? If so, what do they taste like? Have you tried to grow them to sell? I have sold them. I have grown them. We only do it outdoors. We plant them in the gardens in our raised beds. And we eat them, and it's the darkest tasting mushroom you've ever had. I love wine caps. In fact, when they come up this spring, I'll probably make a Forest Dwellers mead with that, because that sounds delicious. Grant Bacon says, Costco sells a gourmet dried mushroom box, mostly boletes and trumpets from Europe. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, Weeks right there is a good place to get your dried mushrooms. Use wild mushrooms. Chanterelles make an amazing mead. Oh, and I bet black trumpets. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to talk to my picker Eddie, my buddy who goes out and picks. He's oh man, black trumpets. I'm going to make a mead with that too. I'm going to make a mead with everything. Daniel C said, thanks. In starting out, how would one calculate harvest rotation so I can provide X amount of mushrooms weekly, such as an example of how many blocks to start from week to week? Okay. Let's see. So you'll have to do some testing first. You'll have to grow out and then kind of test where you're at. My average right now in first flush for mixed oysters is about 3 pounds. You're not going to get that. You might as well count on safely getting 2 off a 12-pound block, and then another couple pounds on your second flush. I only do everything by first flush. I never count my second flush, except on the back end, but I never count on having that second flush, because that's, contamination starts to rise the longer it's in your room. So with sorry, I saw a question pop up and it distracted me. With that, if you want to grow 100 pounds a week, so this is why I actually wrote my blog post working backwards on the Mossy Creek Mushrooms blog. You should work backwards. So I start with the amount of money you want to make. I want to make $300 a week. Okay, so let's just sit down and do our math. So we want $300 a week. That's our target. Now, if I'm selling mushrooms for $8 a pound, then we need to divide 300 by 8, right? So if we divide our $300 by $8 a pound, 300 divided by 8 equals 37.5. So now you know that you need 37.5 pounds of mushrooms. 37.5 pounds of mushrooms, now you just simply divide that by your 2 pounds that you can count on first flush, and bam, that comes out to, divide by 2 is 18.75. So now you know, in order to make $300 a week on average, you're going to need to grow 37.5 pounds of mushrooms, which means that you're going to be packing 18.75 blocks a week. So might as well say just pack 20 blocks a week, because you can count on losing 10% roughly. 21, if you want to be a little bit more accurate, 21 blocks per week. And now you know that's how much you're planting every week. That should be, 1 5-pound bag of spawn would be enough. So you need to have 1 5-pound bag of spawn coming in. You need to have all those bags coming in. You need to have enough soy and sawdust coming in, etc. So as long as you're packing that, you don't count your second flushes, and here's why. I have a bad week. I lost most of, that batch of blocks. Well, now I can let those other blocks stay in for another week and get my second flush, and whatever survives from the contamination outbreak or whatever, plus my second flushes should come into saving my butt, right? This is how we stay consistent. So, okay, next week I want to know about reusing for other strains. I don't know much about it. I basically just told you all I know, so I can look into it a little bit more and see if I can come up with something. What's a mead? Honey, wine, or beer? Grant's right. It's honey wine. Honey water. Technically, when you add other things to it, it's not necessarily a mead, but mead is the word most people know, so mead is what I call it. If you add fruit to it, it's like fruit and honey. It's a mellow. There's all kinds of other names for it, but honey is my favorite fermentation. It there's a lot of people, I've had oh crap. I can't remember what it's called now. Anyway, I've had drinks that make me want to fight, and I've got some that make me a little depressed. Like beer doesn't seem to be like a super happy drunk to me, which I don't even like the feeling of being drunk, to be honest. But beer is not my favorite kind. Once or twice a year, I like to drink enough to get kind of tipsy with mead. Other than that, I'll have a glass or two just to get that warm buzz kind of feeling. But mead is always kind of like happy drunk kind of thing. Let's see. I made a gallon each a year and a half ago with local honey of elderberry, blackberry, regular, apple pie, and pumpkin spice. It's still aging. Man, that sounds delicious. If you want to trade bottle for bottle, let me know. Maybe we can mail each other a bottle and try each other's meads. See how the vest said, and next week the sample grow out for contam checks. Clarify, please. George Viod says, search ANCAP, libertarian philosophy, referencing your mention of liberalism, freedom in our time. Okay, I'll check that out. ANCAP. I'll check that out. Nadia, you're about to get kicked, and your comments are not going to be seen. So I don't like racism. Nancy Vancher says, I'm having trouble finding soy hulls. I live in Florida, and I can get peanut hulls. Will those work instead? I think so. Being allergic to peanuts, I wouldn't do it myself. And I don't know if there would be any problem with it having the dust or anything on it. I wouldn't think so, because you're not really working in the dust at that point. And mycelium doesn't really uptake. It dissolves things on the molecular level and then uptakes things. So the amount of anything you'd have in it, like an allergen, I don't imagine you'd have any allergen in it. So I think that would work, but I don't know. And I would play it safe just because myself and like everyone in my family is allergic to peanuts and tree nuts. So we just stay away from that stuff. Daniel C. says, wow, great explanation. From your carpentry experience, which paint would you use for the lab table to withstand the waterfalls of alcohol? So I don't have much carpentry experience. That would be Ben. As far as what did we use? It was a clear coat, polyurethane. Polyurethane is what we used to coat the wood, and it withstood the alcohol. Eventually ate away at it, but it lasted for like 2 or 3 years. So. Nadia, I guess you're welcome. Daniel C. said, internet trolls everywhere, and did you make your laminar flow? I did not make it. I bought it from Fungi Perfecti. I figured that was years and years ago. My next one will probably just make. But I figured at the time I wanted to support Paul Stamets. He had done a lot. He had done a lot for me personally, not like him personally. I don't know Paul. I would love to meet Paul. Paul, if you ever see this, would love to meet you and thank you in person. Come to East Tennessee. I'll buy you a beer, give you some mead. I don't care. But it's one of those things where I decided back then that I would buy it from the people who I knew were using a product that worked. Now there's build videos everywhere. There weren't when I was first starting. Samantha's up there. She said, "Arg, I can't include links that just And then she said, all right, to answer the tax question, basically it pares down to your state laws and how you are defined when you apply for your EIN number and form your farm. So that's a good thing. We did ours as an LLC and as an LLC partnership, and that gives us some flexibility that a lot of the people don't have. Anyways, so that was kind of the way that really works out. It's just, it's going to depend on your state. Tennessee is a very easy state to get your tax forms and stuff in. I was sitting there reading it off.
That was awful.
What was awful?
You can't include links, and then you have a 200-word limit, or a 200... Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, Ben.
Hello.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh! Wow, there's all this.
Well, they can read it, and then the end. So
there you go, guys.
You have to go. You can block me or like hide me or whatever.
Huh?
What is that?
I think I put a user in timeout. This Nadia person's just being annoying.
It's a shame.
It's just trolls, man. It's just the way it works. This is the internet.
Well, it takes up precious time.
Outside. Okay, guys, great work. I will book a consultation. Thanks, Helen. I appreciate that. That helps me more than anything, and I enjoy. That's my favorite part of the job is teaching. So that sounds good to me. Please. Nancy says, "Can I recommend someplace? Oh, you want me to recommend somebody a place to buy soy hulls? Farmers co-ops. And usually, if they don't have it, you can go ask. And our mill is Faithway Mills, so you can ask them if they can carry that or get them from them.
And I went to our local co-op and asked if they could carry a certain thing, and I presented how much we would buy per year, and they were very open to ordering that and making sure that they could supply us. So just work with your local co-op is what we've done, and it's been really helpful.
He always messes with me during my live streams.
It's true.
It's true.
How long have you been on that?
2 hours, 48 minutes, and 21 seconds. I'm gonna call it at 3 minutes, guys. So we got less than 12 minutes left with me, and then I'm going to eat because I'm hungry.
Dinner's at 7:30, so we've got 30 minutes.
I'm giving them 12. 11. All right. It'll be determined where you fall based on your land, whether it is agriculturally zoned or not, as well as whether you rent or own, what you produce, and whether or not you make profit. Very true. Indigo Blue said, great info. What do you use for cleaning solution in the fruiting room? Bleach, just a 5% bleach solution. Samantha said, but farming here consists of cultivating for profit. We had to speak to our local officials. I suggest you do the same. Oh my gosh. She also said, and fungus is weird. Here it doesn't fall cleanly into certain organized slots. So speaking to the correct officials was critical for us. That's true. It's actually just regulated like tomatoes or any other produce. But a lot of people don't know that, even especially the people who should know that. So
And we had to call somebody who had to call somebody who had to call somebody.
yeah. Eric E said, have you tried making building materials out of mycelium, like bricks or furniture maybe? No, but I've seen a lot of people do it. There's actually a group online on Facebook that's Myco Materials, and that's a pretty cool group. I don't believe a lot in that kind of thing. I don't think that it's going to be, some big wave of the future, but it is neat and it is cool. So it's been said, I believe you also need to produce profit for 3 out of 5 years. Otherwise you are reduced to being considered a hobbyist. She said, that said, I'm not an expert, so talk to your local CPA, city government, and your agricultural extension agents. AJ Gonzalez says, FYI, for anyone applying for EIN, avoid third-party sites that mimic. Don't use any of the third-party sites. I actually used LegalZoom and enjoyed that, but it doesn't mimic the IRS's site. So, but they took care of all my state filings and my federal filings, and I enjoyed that. It was worth the $300 just to not have to have a headache. Adam Martinez says, Nancy, I live in the Tampa area and was having the same problem. So maybe you guys can get together and get a solution figured out. Ciotha says, apply for your EIN through the online gov, get lawyer to get you a business cert and stamp. I think that's a good idea. Yeah, go as official as you can. For me, it was worth it to have somebody there to just do it for me and not have the headache. So Hargan Ropra says, hi. Well, hello. I found a place in North Florida called Hillendale Quality Feeds that sells soy hulls. Closest place I could find. Okay, so cool. Nancy, that's for you.
That's something else too that I can
whoa.
see is just being able
Did
to
you see that? Like I thought I was at the bottom, and then all of a sudden it jumped and gave me a bunch more stuff. Glenn Forrester says, I love your videos. You guys are real, and I'm learning more and more from you guys. Hey, thank you for joining us, man. Help us build the channel and, just being there to engage with us. Blender Pal says, do you stir your liquid culture continuously during the growth phase, and why? Nope. Once a day. I come down, stir it up. I've got different size stir bars. Unfortunately, I haven't standardized on the size. I've started to standardize, but haven't yet. So it has to be one of those things that I put down. And show them what? Sure, go ahead. Thank you guys for everything we can learn from. Yeah, thank you, Andre. Is Andre? I still don't know. You're the one from Iceland, though, right? Okay, so there's.
Stir bar is too little. Then you will get this on top.
The mycelial mat that grows on top because it can't suck it down. It can't pull it down in that vortex.
And it'll just grow a big mat on top, and it looks really crazy.
Ciotha says, but file taxes, even if you never use the EIN, or you'll get an automatic 2005. Yeah, be careful with that, guys. We actually used an accountant for filing for a few years, and we thought that we weren't getting our tax return because we had student loans and everything else like that, which didn't make much sense to us, but that's kind of what we were led to believe. And so I just found out recently that we overpaid on our taxes and never got our tax returns. So we're actually supposed to be getting 3 years worth of tax returns all at once because we used the wrong accountant. And the accountant we're using now costs a lot more, but is going to be making me a lot more money. So, all that time I could have been using those tax returns to help with the business, and I didn't have it. So use someone that's good and that's worth it. Hargan says, so how's your day going? Great. Always great. Even when it's not. It's great. Daniel C. said, what would you recommend for the first or two strain that would appeal to a large restaurant audience? Just signed up in Syndicate. Give me the culture. Well, thanks, Daniel. King Blue. King Blue would be my go-to strain right now. I've got some other strains in the works, some that are going to be released very soon. There'll be videos on them and everything. But King Blue is one of my first ever creations. I really like it. So go with that. And thank you for the support. Let's see, that's for Adam. And then Blender says, thanks. You're very welcome, Blender. Be careful. They don't refund after 3 years. Right. That's what we're trying to do right now is go ahead and get those 3 years. So we're actually supposed to be getting our last year, and then going from there, we'll be at 3 more years. So then we have to do each one individually, and it takes at least 9 weeks for each one. So we right now, we're actually due our first one from 3 years ago. Then we're going to file for this year, and then we'll still have to get those last 2 years. So it's been a mess. I really wish that we had not gone with someone so loosey-goosey in the first place.
It's actually one of the reasons why I've been reading so much and trying to get involved in
taxes and accounting and
being very detailed, very organized.
Yep.
That's what kickstarted that for me. And just
so he's saying that he's still
anyway.
fighting over his from 2015, and they say no, it's a forfeit. Yeah, that's the problem, right?
And I'm fine.
You owe them money
over.
for years, for a lifetime,
Yeah.
but you only get 3 years to get your money, boy. So
and I'm okay calling it a loss and starting over and just clearing that slate and putting an organized good foot forward from here on out and just doing it right from this point forward. And I'll call that as a learning loss. And sometimes you just have to do that. And in business and life and personal affairs, I mean, everything. So, but yeah. What are you doing?
I'm checking something while you were talking.
We need to do dinner. Aislinn just came down and told me to tell you that she loved you. So we've been gone too long, guys. We need to get back to
All right, guys. My kids are asking for me, so I'm going to give you. Well, I said 5 more minutes. They've got 5 more minutes. Oh my gosh, my phone just started blowing up. I don't know. So yeah, you guys got 5 more minutes.
That is just.
Okay, then Gigi says the Nazis are back. Prepare yourself, and the aliens also. Fair enough. Seattle says you get what you pay for. I learned the hard way too. Found an older Addy that fixed it all up. And yeah, man, some of these old accountants are good accountants.
That was held for review, so
I'll just hide it.
Flagged it.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know why you guys are making those comments, but
It's just trolls, Samantha. Just ignore it.
Not like everybody.
Right. No, like 99% of you guys have been great. Let's see. Life of D says, hey, Mossy, where do you all get your bags? Also, do you have you had a chance to play Apex Legends Season 4? Yeah, Samantha's not seen much of me because of that. So, notice you had it on the background of the video. Gaming stream win. So I love Apex Legends. But first, I'll go to your bag question. You can get them from Unicorn Bags. I get mine from, oh my gosh, it's Seth Fisher of Mushroom Media Online. There we go. Mushroom Media Online is where I actually get my bags most of the time nowadays. I also sometimes get them from Eric Myers. I think the last time I got them from Eric Myers, but before that, the past 2 times I got them from Mushroom Media Online. And then
they'll send smaller batches.
They will send smaller batches.
Faster. It is a little bit more than
the problem with ordering from
bulk,
right. The problem with ordering from Unicorn is if you buy it from them, you might get it next week, you might get it 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and they're great bags. It's the same bags I get from Eric and Seth, but they buy in bulk and then ship out in smaller quantities, and they get them to you fast and for about the same price as what you can get for buying 1,000. It's like a penny or two more, and yeah, I mean it's worth the speed whenever you're doing lean stuff and you don't want to keep up pallets full of bags. So. As far as Apex Season 4, yeah, I love it. My gamer tag is Myco Miner, MyCoMiner. Send me a message first. I will not just play with random people who get me going because my son's got a bunch of stuff on there, a bunch of people. So, it is what it is. ISK, 1,500. Thank you, Andre. I have no idea what ISK is. Wait a minute. ISK is from, I played, it was a spaceship game. You remember? Eve Online. ISK is what's used in Eve Online. And aren't they based in Iceland?
That's awesome.
Did they use a real currency in that game? That's cool. Thank you very much for that, man. I appreciate it.
That was a fun game too.
I don't stream my games, but I have been interested in kind of getting into it. So if anybody does any streaming and wants to help me set up a little way to do it, I'd love to. I love Apex. I love playing. So, and I'd love to play with my community, Mushroom people. So again, my gamer tag is Myco Miner, MyCoMiner. Send me a message and then a friend request. Just so I know, say, hey, I saw you on the channel, that kind of thing. Thanks, AJ. You too. Thanks, Sia. I appreciate it. Hi, Gigi. I'm actually about to leave, so just so you know, if you're just joining me, you've got like 1 more minute with me. Sia said, damn trolls call them their friends. Yeah, that happens. Lauren says, what are your thoughts on magic mushrooms? Well, what are you asking me? What are my thoughts as far as medical stuff goes? What is, how to, like, what do I think about them as far as medicinally speaking? What do I think about them? I mean, like, you have to clarify just a little bit. Good. My thoughts are good. I don't know. What just happened? Andre says that's the Icelandic Krona. Oh, okay. I didn't realize the ISK. Okay, that's kind of cool. So they used ISK, but that's neat. I like that. I never realized that. Hey, we should get out to Iceland and see your farm and do a YouTube video on it. So just hint. I love Iceland. So. Miser says, get out of here. Some of us need to sleep. Have a good evening. Good night, man. Have a good one. I'm actually about to head off here. Great answer. Thanks. Do you remember your preferred filter type? I stream on Twitch. Message me on Twitter. The 0.2 micron filter for spawn, 0.5 for fruiting blocks. And message me on Twitter. If you swim on, Life of D, like get on me. I'm on Xbox right now. If I need to get on computer to do streaming, I'll be happy to do that. But again, my gamer tag on Xbox Live is MyCominer. It's just Myco Miner. And yeah, man, let's do it. If you don't mind, just emailing me at like mossycreekmushrooms at gmail.com. That'd be the easiest way to get a hold of me. Medical thoughts. Yeah, so I'll make it really fast. As far as medicinally speaking, I think that the research that's being done is excellent. I know a lot of people who've helped themselves get through traumatic experiences using them, and I think that's great. So let's see.
All right,
good answer. Thanks, Tarzan.
Bye, guys. It was nice seeing you again, and we'll talk to you later.
And Cheesy says, is there an entity into your house? Yeah, it's called me. I am the entity in my house. Or all the mushrooms, or the dogs, or the fish, or everything. Iska's Icelandic Krona currency about $12 USD. Okay, dang. Wow, I didn't realize the exchange rate was like that. Robot Viking. Hello, Andrew. Glad to see you live, dude. Thanks, man. You too. You missed it. I am heading off right now. So hope you'll have a great evening. You too, Wayne. I'm definitely going to enjoy my family time. Thanks, Andre. Very much. Appreciate it. For those in Tampa, someone in Newport, Richie is selling a pallet of soybean hull pellets on Craigslist. There you go. You guys are the closest, coolest in the biz. Love every time I see new content. Thanks, Tarzan. There's more coming out. Bye, Mr. and Mrs. Mossy. Love you all. Have a great night. Yeah, good night. Love you all. I appreciate it. Thank you all very much for building this for me. If I will talk all day, so I better jump off now. Have a good evening. Enjoy it. Thank you all very much for the support. Keep spawning culture, y'all.